Hello everyone. Welcome to Dead Time Stories. I know many of you enjoy listening to these videos as you fall asleep. So before you drift off, I'd love for you to leave a comment letting me know where in the world you're tuning in from. And if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Alright, now let's get comfortable, relax, and dive into tonight's story. Rain streaked the windshield in uneven sheets, blurring the rows of pine trees that leaned like watchful sentinels over the narrow two-lane road. Emma tightened her grip on the steering wheel, the wipers dragging across the glass with a tired squeal. Her phone sat in the cup holder, its screen glowing faintly with the map app, the signal bars perilously low. "This shortcut better not get us killed," Mark muttered from the passenger seat, arms crossed. He was pale in the dashboard glow, exhaustion written in the sharp lines around his eyes. Emma shot him a look. "It's not a shortcut. It's the only road the GPS gave me after the highway closure." "Yeah, well, it looks like something out of a horror movie." In the back seat, their 12-year-old daughter, Lily, sat curled under a blanket, earbuds in. She was humming to herself, the kind of distracted sound kids made when they were trying not to listen to their parents argue. The storm worsened. Branches swayed above them, some bending low enough to scrape the car roof like fingers dragging across metal. Emma slowed, headlights catching glimpses of mist rising from the forest floor. A shape appeared up ahead, a figure standing in the rain. Emma gasped, foot pressing the brake. Mark sat up straight. The figure didn't move, drenched clothes plastered to its thin frame. A man, maybe, though his head was tilted unnaturally far to one side. He stood in the center of the road, motionless, as if he had been waiting for them. Emma lowered her window an inch. Rain spattered in, cool and sharp. "Hello? Are you hurt?" The man turned slowly toward the car. His face was pale, lips bluish, eyes empty. Not wide with fear, not narrowed with anger. Just hollow, as if something had been scooped out of him. Lily pulled her earbuds free. "Mom, don't." Mark's hand gripped Emma's arm. "Drive." But Emma's foot hesitated over the gas. The man took one step forward, shoes squelching in the mud. His head twitched again, jerking with a spasm that didn't look human. The engine idled. Rain hammered the roof. For a moment, time stretched thin as glass, fragile and waiting to break. Then the man opened his mouth. No words came. Just a low, breathless sound, like the wind forcing its way through a crack in a door. Emma slammed her foot down. The car roared forward, tires spraying mud. She swerved, narrowly missing the man as he staggered sideways into the trees. Lily cried out in the back seat, pulling the blanket tight around herself. Mark twisted in his seat, watching the figure recede into the storm. "Jesus Christ!" Emma's knuckles were white on the wheel. Her heartbeat thundered louder than the rain. She wanted to say something reassuring, but her throat was dry. The forest pressed in darker now, and the road seemed endless, vanishing into a void. And somewhere behind them, swallowed by the trees, the hollow man was still standing in the storm. The silence in the car was heavier than the storm outside. Even the rain seemed muffled, like it was falling on something thicker than glass. Emma swallowed hard, trying to steady her breathing, but her pulse refused to slow. Lily whispered from the back seat. "What was wrong with him?" Mark didn't answer. He was still turned toward the rear window, eyes fixed on the road they had left behind. Finally, he muttered, "He wasn't right. People don't move like that." Emma's voice cracked when she tried to speak. "Maybe he was injured. Maybe he needed help." Mark turned back sharply, his gaze cutting through her. "Injured people don't just stand in the middle of the road like mannequins. And did you hear that noise? That wasn't a cry for help." Emma gripped the wheel tighter, forcing her eyes forward. She hated the way his words sank into her, stirring the dread she was trying so hard to tamp down. The road twisted deeper into the forest. The GPS froze, the little blue dot stuck at a bend they'd already passed. No signal. Emma bit her lip and muttered, come on," as if the phone could be bullied back to life. Lily pressed her face against the window, peering into the dark blur of trees. Mom, there's more people out there. Emma's stomach dropped. She followed her daughter's gaze. At first, she saw nothing, just dripping branches and mist pooling low over the ground. Then the headlights swept across movement. Figures. 3 of them, standing between the trees, half shrouded in fog. They didn't move. They didn't flinch from the light. They just stood, arms slack at their sides, heads tipped slightly in that same unnatural tilt as the man on the road. Emma's breath caught. Mark cursed under his breath. What the hell is this place? The car rolled forward slowly, engine purring low, as if it too were afraid to draw attention. The figures disappeared behind them, swallowed by the woods, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling of eyes pressing against the glass. Lily sank down in her seat, blanket pulled over her head. I want to go home, she whispered. So do I, sweetheart, Emma said, voice tight. They drove on, every shadow twitching at the edge of their vision. The road narrowed, then widened again, curving along a steep ridge. Suddenly, beams of light broke through the fog, 2 yellowed lanterns marking the outline of a wooden sign. Emma slowed, squinting through the rain. The sign read, Welcome to Dunlow. Founded 1873. Mark frowned. Never heard of it. But Emma was already focusing on what lay beyond the sign, a cluster of buildings huddled in the storm, their windows dark, streets empty. A town. Relief washed over her in a trembling exhale. Finally. Maybe we can find a gas station or someone who knows the way out. Mark didn't look reassured. His gaze swept the lifeless street ahead, the rain bouncing off cracked pavement. Yeah, but why does it look abandoned? Emma guided the car past the sign, headlights spilling into the hollow heart of Dunlow. The town was waiting. The first thing Emma noticed as they entered Dunlow was the stillness. The storm hadn't stopped. It still battered the roof of the car. But here, between the sagging buildings, it felt muted, almost restrained. No lights glowed behind the warped glass windows. No signs of life stirred on the sidewalks. They passed a diner with a faded neon sign, its letters half burned out, Eat. A row of gas pumps stood rusting beside a boarded-up convenience store. Farther down, a church steeple pierced the fog, its cross leaning as if under some great weight. Emma slowed, peering through the windshield. Maybe everyone's just asleep. It's late. Mark scoffed quietly. Yeah, because everyone in town decided to turn off their lights and pretend they don't exist? Stop, Emma hissed, though her own voice trembled. The car rolled into what looked like the main square. A fountain sat in the center, dry and cracked, with weeds spilling over the stone lip. Statues ringed the basin, children holding hands in a circle, though time and weather had eroded their features into smooth, eyeless faces. Lily whimpered. I don't like this place. Emma forced a smile into the rearview mirror. We'll just ask for directions and then we'll go, okay? We'll be out of here in no time. But as she said it, her headlights swept across something that made her stomach knot. A single figure stood on the opposite side of the square. It wasn't moving. Its arms hung loose, head tilted to the side just like the others. Mark's voice was barely above a whisper. That's one of them. Emma pressed her foot on the gas, but before the car moved, more shapes emerged. Slowly, soundlessly, they stepped out from the alleys and doorways, filling the edges of the square. Men, women, even children, drenched, silent, all staring with those hollow expressions. Lily cried out, covering her eyes. Mom! Emma's breath came in ragged pulls. Her hands shook as she shifted into reverse. The tires squealed, water spraying as the car backed toward the road they had come from. Then bang! Something struck the trunk. The whole car jolted. Emma screamed, jerking forward, nearly hitting the fountain. Mark spun around in his seat, his face drained of color. They're touching the car. Emma's vision tunneled. Shapes pressed closer, their pale faces illuminated by the headlights. One woman dragged her hand slowly across the hood, nails screeching against the paint. A man's palm slapped the driver's side window with sudden force, making Emma flinch. Mark grabbed Emma's arm. Go! Just go! She slammed the car into drive. Tires screeched on the wet pavement, the car lurching forward. Figures scattered just enough to let them pass, but not a single face turned away. Every set of hollow eyes followed them as they tore down the street, past the diner, past the church, out into the forest road again. The town disappeared into mist behind them. But Emma couldn't shake the image, their bodies crowding the square, waiting, as if they knew the family would come. As if they had been expecting them. The road out of Dunlow was slick and narrow, twisting through the trees like a vein of asphalt carved into the earth. Emma's hands trembled on the wheel, her breath shallow, every nerve screaming to keep driving and never look back. Mark was silent, jaw tight, staring straight ahead. Lily sat curled in the back, whispering into her blanket as if reciting a prayer. The sound of her muffled words was the only thing filling the car, besides the rain hammering down. Emma dared a glance at the GPS again. Still frozen, the little blue dot stuck back at the sign that welcomed them to Dunlow. The signal bars were gone entirely. She muttered, come on, but it was useless. Mark broke the silence, his voice low and jagged. We shouldn't have gone through there. We should have turned back. There wasn't another road. Emma shot back too quickly, too defensively. You think I wanted to stop in that place? Mark rubbed his temples, exhaling shakily. I don't know what that was. But it wasn't normal. Those people. He trailed off, then looked at her sharply. They weren't alive, Emma. Her throat tightened. She wanted to deny it, to insist that what they'd seen were just strange, unfriendly townsfolk, but the words withered in her mouth. Because she had seen their faces. She had seen their movements, or rather, the lack of them. And she had felt something pressing against her chest, something heavy and unnatural, when those figures drew near the car. A flash of movement darted between the trees. Emma's heart lurched. She hit the brakes, and the tires skidded on the wet road. Why are you stopping? Mark barked. Something's out there. The headlights cut across the pines, and for an instant Emma thought she saw a pale face peering from behind the trunk of a tree. Just one, motionless, watching. Then it was gone. Lily whimpered, rocking under her blanket. Please don't stop. Please don't stop. Emma forced the car forward again, though every muscle screamed to turn around. But back there was Dunlow. Back there were the hollow ones. They drove for what felt like an eternity, but the road never seemed to change. Always curving, always climbing, lined with the same black trees and crawling mist. The storm eased into a drizzle, yet the world felt no lighter. Mark leaned forward, squinting at the road. Wait. Haven't we seen that tree before? Emma's stomach dropped. She knew exactly which one he meant, the gnarled pine with the lightning scar running down its trunk. She had noticed it earlier, just before the sign for Dunlow. And now it was here again. Her voice cracked. That's not possible. Mark's hand gripped the dashboard. We're going in circles. Emma pressed the accelerator harder. The car groaned, engine straining, as if the road itself resisted them. Her vision blurred with tears, but she blinked them back, forcing herself to focus on the stretch of wet asphalt ahead. Then, through the thinning mist, the lantern-lit sign emerged once more. Welcome to Dunlow. Founded 1873. Lily screamed. Emma's breath caught. Mark swore loudly, slamming his fist against the dashboard. They were back. Back where the hollow ones were waiting. Emma pulled the car to a shuddering stop, gravel spitting under the tires. The yellow lanterns of the Dunlow sign glowed through the drizzle, casting long, sickly streaks across the windshield. None of them spoke at first. The silence inside the car was unbearable, so thick it seemed to press against their ears. Finally, Mark rasped. We didn't turn around. I was watching. We didn't. Emma shook her head, numb. It doesn't matter. The road, it's bringing us back. From the back seat, Lily's voice was barely audible. It wants us here. Emma twisted in her seat, panic flashing. Don't say that! But Lily's wide eyes glistened in the faint light, and Emma knew she wasn't wrong. Something about the way the road bent, about how the forest seemed endless, had felt wrong from the beginning. And now here they were again, as if the town had simply folded space around them. Mark unclipped his seatbelt. "We can't stay in the car. If we just keep driving in circles, we'll run out of gas." Emma grabbed his wrist. "You can't just get out. Did you see them? They touched the car, Mark. What do you think they'll do if we're not inside it?" His jaw worked, torn between anger and fear. "So what, Emma? We just sit here and wait for what? For them to come back?" As if summoned by his words, movement stirred at the edge of the square beyond the sign. Shadows shifted in the fog. Pale figures emerging one by one, stepping soundlessly into view. Emma's breath hitched. "Oh God!" They were gathering again, lining the sidewalks, filling the spaces between the buildings. Their heads tilted, arms hanging loose, bodies glistening with rain. More of them than before. Twice as many. Mark cursed under his breath, fumbling for the glove compartment. He pulled out a small flashlight and flicked it on, the narrow beam cutting a trembling path through the mist. "We have to find somewhere to hide. Somewhere with a door we can lock." Emma's hands trembled. "We should stay in the car." "And what happens when they surround it?" "When they—" He stopped. Because the figures were already moving closer. Slow, deliberate steps, all in unison. Their bare feet slapping softly against the wet pavement. Lily screamed, curling tighter under her blanket. "Don't let them in!" Emma's pulse thundered in her ears. Her body screamed at her to drive, but there was nowhere left to go. The road had betrayed them. The car felt like a coffin. Mark reached for the door handle. "We can't stay here." Emma caught his arm again, desperate. "If you leave this car, we're all dead." But the figures kept coming, their empty eyes fixed on the family trapped inside the headlights. And Emma realized with sickening clarity, whatever the hollow ones were, they weren't just waiting for them. They were closing in. The first thud rattled the car door. Emma flinched, twisting toward the sound. A pale hand slid across the window, fingers splayed, nails scraping slow arcs into the glass. Another hand joined it. Then another. Soon every window was a canvas of smears and streaks as the hollow ones pressed against the car. Lily screamed, burying her face in the blanket. "Make them stop!" Mark's voice was a harsh whisper. "Emma, we can't stay in here. If they decide to break the glass..." "They're not breaking it," Emma cut in, though her voice trembled. "They're just touching it." As if on cue, one of the hollow ones slammed its palm flat against the driver's side, a wet crack echoing through the interior. Emma gasped. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Mark switched on the flashlight and shined it through the windshield. The beam swept across their faces, blank, slack, eyes cloudy and unfocused. They didn't flinch from the light. They didn't blink. They only stared, heads jerking slightly in those unnatural, twitching tilts. Then one of them opened its mouth. The sound that poured out wasn't human. A hollow exhale, a cavernous moan, like air being forced through a broken pipe. Others joined in, one by one, until the car was surrounded by a chorus of breathless, empty voices. Emma clapped her hands over her ears, but it wasn't enough. The sound vibrated through the glass, into her chest, into her bones. Lily sobbed, rocking back and forth. "Mom, make it stop! Please make it stop!" Emma's vision blurred with tears. She gripped the steering wheel as if it might anchor her. "I don't know what to do." Mark leaned close, his voice nearly lost beneath the chorus. "The diner. We passed it coming in. It had doors, maybe a back exit. If we run for it, we might lose them." Emma shook her head violently. "And if they catch us? Then we die sitting here anyway." The sound outside rose higher, pressing against their skulls like a storm inside their heads. The windows shivered in their frames. Emma's mind fractured between choices: stay and wait for the inevitable, or run into the unknown. Mark's hand clamped over hers on the steering wheel. His eyes locked onto hers, fierce and terrified all at once. "Emma, decide. Now." The chorus of hollow voices reached a pitch that made Emma's teeth ache. She threw the car into drive. The engine roared, wheels spinning against the slick pavement. The hollow one staggered back just enough for the car to lurch forward. Emma steered toward the diner, headlights slicing through the mist, figures scattering on either side of the road. Lily's scream carried over the engine. "They're chasing us!" Emma didn't dare look in the mirrors. She could feel them, running, gliding, keeping pace with impossible speed. Their chorus followed, hollow and endless, seeping into the car no matter how fast she drove. And then, at last, the diner appeared through the fog. Its neon sign flickered weakly, a sickly red glow stuttering against the rain. Emma slammed the brakes. The car fishtailed slightly before skidding to a stop in front of the diner. The neon sign buzzed overhead, "Eat," the letters sputtering like they were choking on their own light. "Out!" Mark shouted, fumbling with his seatbelt. "Now, now!" Emma's fingers felt numb, useless, but she managed to shove her door open. Cold rain slapped her face, drenching her clothes instantly. Lily screamed as Mark pulled her from the back seat, wrapping an arm around her trembling body. The hollow chorus rose behind them. Figures spilled into the road, pale and glistening, jerking closer with every step. "Go!" Mark shoved Emma toward the diner. She sprinted, shoes slipping on wet pavement, her heart slamming against her ribs like it wanted out. The diner's front door was a slab of fogged glass framed in rusted metal. She grabbed the handle, locked. "No, no, no!" she sobbed, yanking hard. Mark barreled into the door beside her, slamming his shoulder against it. The glass rattled but held. Lily clung to his waist, sobbing. Emma's frantic eyes searched the facade. A boarded window. A loose panel near the corner. And then, a small service door around the side, its paint peeling. "There!" she cried, pointing. They sprinted together, the hollow ones closing fast. Emma reached the door first, gripping the corroded handle. She twisted, it gave. The door creaked inward with a shriek of rusted hinges. They stumbled inside, slamming it shut behind them. Mark threw his weight against it while Emma searched blindly for a lock. Her hand found a bolt, heavy and stiff. She shoved it down just as a heavy thud rattled the other side of the door. Lily wailed, hands clamped over her ears. The sound outside rose again, those breathless, cavernous moans, but muffled now by the diner walls. Emma bent double, hands braced on her knees, gasping for air. The smell of dust and old grease hit her nose. The diner was dark except for the weak glow of the neon sign filtering through the smeared windows. Mark whispered, breath ragged, "We bought ourselves time. That's all." Emma lifted her head, eyes adjusting. The counter stretched across the far wall, stools lined in crooked rows. Booths sagged along the windows, their vinyl split and spilling foam. The floor was littered with overturned menus, broken glass, and long-cooled grease stains. But the worst part wasn't the decay. It was the silence inside. No hum of electricity. No dripping faucet. No creak of settling wood. Just silence, thick and absolute, as if the building itself was holding its breath. Lily whispered, voice trembling, "Are they gonna come in?" Emma crouched, cupping her daughter's face. "Not right now. We're safe for now." But even as she said it, her stomach churned. Safe felt like a lie. Mark was sweeping his flashlight beam across the room, jaw tight. He froze when the light landed on something behind the counter. Emma followed his gaze. Her blood ran cold. A figure stood there, half hidden in the shadows. It wasn't moving. For a heartbeat, Emma thought it was one of them. Her lungs seized, and she pulled Lily behind her instinctively. Mark's flashlight beam trembled over the figure, cutting through the shadows. It was a man, or what had once been one. He stood rigid behind the counter, arms slack at his sides. His skin was gray, waxy, stretched thin across jutting bones. His mouth hung open slightly, lips cracked and dry, but no sound escaped. His eyes, clouded, milky, stared past them, unfocused. Emma's voice was a broken whisper. "Mark!" He shook his head, slowly raising the flashlight higher. The beam swept across the man's chest. That's when Emma saw the uniform, a greasy apron, faded letters stitched across the top. Dunlow Diner. The man twitched. His head jerked to the side, that same grotesque tilt they had seen on the road. Emma's stomach clenched, bile burning her throat. Lily whimpered, burying her face in Emma's jacket. It's one of them. He's one of them. Mark's jaw tightened. He grabbed an empty stool, yanking it from the counter with a screech. Stay back. The hollow man didn't move toward them. He just stood, chest rising and falling in shallow, unnatural rhythm, as if mimicking the idea of breathing. Then his lips peeled back, slowly, and a sound leaked out, low, rasping, hollow. The chorus outside answered. The diner walls vibrated faintly, the muffled moans seeping through the glass and wood. Emma's skin prickled with goose flesh. They weren't just surrounding the building. They were connected. Mark raised the stool higher, ready to swing. If it comes any closer. Wait, Emma hissed, gripping his arm. What if it draws them in? Mark hesitated, teeth grinding. The man behind the counter twitched again, jerking forward an inch. His milky eyes rolled slightly, fixing on something unseen. Then his lips moved, shaping words that scraped out like broken glass. Hungry! Emma's blood froze. Mark's grip on the stool faltered. He whispered, What the hell did it just say? The man's jaw worked soundlessly for a moment, then the word came again, warped, strained, as if dragged up from somewhere deep and rotten. Hungry! Emma pulled Lily closer, her mind spiraling. Was this thing still alive somehow? Was it warning them? Or luring them? Then, with a sudden spasm, the man slammed both hands on the counter. Dust erupted into the air. Lily screamed. Mark swung the stool in reflex, but Emma yanked him back before it connected. The hollow man leaned forward, face slack, mouth wide. And from that yawning cavern came not words but a blast of the same hollow chorus, loud and violent enough to rattle the diner windows. The voices outside erupted in unison. They had been found. The walls shook with the force of that chorus. Windows rattled in their frames, dust poured from the ceiling tiles. Emma clamped her hands over Lily's ears, but it didn't matter. The sound wasn't just noise. It sank into bone, into marrow, vibrating inside her skull until her vision blurred. Mark roared, swinging the stool with all his strength. Wood splintered against the counter, but the hollow man didn't flinch. He only leaned closer, face inches from the beam of the flashlight, mouth gaping wider. Emma could see his throat moving, straining with each wave of that awful, cavernous moan. His skin rippled unnaturally, as if something just beneath it was pressing to get out. Mark, stop! Emma cried. It's not working! Mark dropped the stool, panting, sweat and rain dripping down his face. Then what do we do? The bolt on the back door groaned under a heavy impact. A fist. Then another. Hollow hands pounded against the metal, in rhythm with the voice inside. Lily shrieked. They're coming in! Emma's mind raced. Her gaze darted around the diner, searching for anything, a weapon, an exit, salvation. Her eyes snagged on a staircase near the far wall, half hidden behind the counter. A red sign hung above it, storage, and no entry. Upstairs! She shouted, pointing. Mark grabbed Lily's hand, pulling her toward the stairs. Emma hesitated a moment longer, her eyes locked on the hollow man. His milky gaze had followed her, his neck twitching as if tracking her every move. Then, in a voice that didn't sound like one voice at all, but dozens layered into one, the hollow man croaked. Don't leave! Emma's blood turned to ice. The pounding at the back door grew violent. Cracks spiderwebbed across the glass of the front windows. Shadows pressed against the neon glow. Emma tore herself away, bolting after Mark and Lily. They scrambled behind the counter, up the narrow stairs 2 steps at a time. Dust rose with each hurried footfall, and the sound of the hollow chorus swelled beneath them, filling every crack of the building. The stairs ended at a small landing. Emma shoved the door open at the top, her breath catching. They had stumbled into a long, low attic space. Rows of shelves stretched beneath the slanted roof, stacked with crates and boxes coated in decades of dust. A single bare bulb flickered overhead, barely pushing back the gloom. Mark slammed the door shut behind them and twisted the lock. Then he pressed his ear to the wood, listening. The chorus was louder now, echoing through the diner, surrounding it. Emma clutched Lily close, her own chest heaving. The attic smelled of mold and something sour, something that hinted at decay. Lily looked up at her with wet eyes. "Mom, are they gonna get us?" Emma pressed a trembling kiss to her daughter's forehead. "No, baby. No, I won't let them." But even as she spoke, she caught sight of something carved into the wall above the shelves. Rough words gouged deep into the wood. "They hear what you think." Her stomach dropped. Emma staggered back from the wall, her eyes fixed on the carved warning. The letters were jagged, desperate, scratched deep with something sharp, as though whoever wrote them hadn't had time to make them neat. Mark followed her gaze, squinting at the words in the weak bulb's glow. He read them aloud under his breath. "They hear what you think." His face hardened. "What the hell does that mean?" Emma shook her head, clutching Lily tighter. "I don't know. I don't want to know." But already, the words rooted deep in her mind, tangling with fear. "They hear what you think." The phrase pulsed like a drumbeat, and with it came the sense, strong, undeniable, that she wasn't alone in her own head anymore. The pounding downstairs shook the walls. The sound of cracking wood snapped through the diner below, sharp as gunfire. "They're breaking in," Mark hissed, pushing boxes against the attic door. "Help me!" Emma reluctantly set Lily down. Together they dragged crates and heavy cartons, stacking them against the door until the frame groaned under the weight. Dust filled the air, clinging to their wet clothes, clogging Emma's throat. The chorus outside shifted. The pounding stopped. Emma froze, her chest heaving. The silence was worse than the noise. Lily whispered, "Why did they stop?" No one answered. Then, through the thin boards of the attic floor, came the sound of footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Not the erratic slapping of the hollow ones outside, but something heavier. Intentional. Mark's eyes widened. "There's someone inside." Emma's pulse thrashed in her ears. "That man, the one behind the counter." The footsteps creaked closer, up the stairs. The locked door shuddered with the weight of something testing it. The boxes shifted. Mark grabbed a broken chair leg from the corner and raised it like a club. "If they get through, we fight." Emma held Lily close again, whispering into her hair. "Don't look, baby. Don't look." The bulb above flickered wildly, shadows jerking across the attic walls. And in that chaos, Emma's gaze snagged on another carving, this one on a crate shoved against the far wall. She crept closer, heart pounding. The words were smaller, almost lost in the wood grain. "Don't think of the door." Emma's breath hitched. Her eyes snapped back to the barricade, boxes stacked, crates wedged tight, Mark bracing himself. Her mind screamed with the thought, "Don't open the door. Don't let them in." And then the voices outside surged, hollow and unified, as if they'd been waiting. "Door!" they moaned, their sound curling up through the cracks in the floor. Emma's knees buckled. Her thoughts weren't hers anymore. They were listening. Emma clapped both hands over her ears, but it didn't block them out. The voices weren't carried by air, they were inside. Whispering along the edges of her thoughts, prying, pulling. "Door! Let us in." She squeezed her eyes shut, shaking her head violently. "Stop! Stop it!" Mark spun toward her, panic flashing across his face. "Emma? What's wrong?" "They know," she gasped. "They know what I'm thinking. Every time I picture that door, they get stronger." Mark swore under his breath, backing away from the barricade as if afraid even standing near it would betray them. "Then don't think about it. Just don't." Emma almost laughed, a bitter, broken sound. "You can't not think about something when someone tells you not to." Lily clutched Emma's sleeve, eyes wide and glassy. "Mom, I can hear them too." Emma's chest constricted. Her little girl's voice trembled, so fragile. She knelt quickly, taking Lily's face in her hands. "Don't listen. They want us scared. That's all." But even as she said it, the whispers thickened. Not just words now. Images, flooding her mind, flashing like photographs in lightning. The front door splintering. The counterman tilting his head until his neck snapped. A wave of pale, slack faces pouring up the stairs, climbing over the barricade like ants. Emma bit her lip hard enough to taste blood. She tried to force other thoughts. Lily's smile, the warmth of their home, sunlight through the kitchen window. For a moment it worked. The whispers faltered. Mark noticed. His voice sharpened. "Don't think about them. Think about something else. Anything else." But even as he spoke, his eyes flicked to the barricade. Emma saw it, the image in his head. The door breaking, boxes crashing down, hands reaching through. And the voices swelled again, echoing through all three of them, layered, hungry. "Open!" The attic bulb popped with a sharp crack, plunging them into near darkness. The only light came from the weak glow of Mark's flashlight, its beam trembling as his hand shook. Something scraped against the other side of the door. Slow. Deliberate. Like fingernails dragging across wood. Then the whisper shifted, soft as a sigh, sliding through Emma's mind like a knife under skin. "You're already inside." Her heart stopped. She turned her head slowly, terrified of what she might see in the dark corners of the attic. Because the voice wasn't coming from behind the door anymore. It was here. The beam of Mark's flashlight jerked wildly as he spun toward the shelves, then the rafters, then the stacks of crates. Dust motes swirled in the narrow cone of light, making the shadows seem alive. Emma's throat was so tight she could barely breathe. "Mark!" Lily clutched at Emma's waist, trembling. "Where is it?" Something shifted deep in the attic, wood groaning under a weight that wasn't theirs. Then came the sound, a faint shuffle, deliberate, like bare feet brushing over splinters. Mark raised the chair leg higher, sweat dripping down his temple. "Show yourself!" His voice cracked on the last word, betraying the terror beneath. The whispers bloomed again, not just one voice but dozens, weaving in and out of one another, filling the attic with sickly harmony. "Hungry! You let us in. You thought of the door." Emma pressed her hands harder over Lily's ears, though she knew it was pointless. She could feel the words vibrating in her skull, in her bones. The flashlight beam slid across a far corner, and froze. A figure crouched there, half hidden behind a stack of crates. At first Emma thought it was another hollow one, but the shape was wrong. Smaller. Its limbs were too thin, bent at odd angles, like a marionette twisted in a box. Its face was turned away, but strands of wet hair clung to its skull. Mark staggered back a step, the chair leg trembling in his grip. "Oh, Christ!" The thing moved. Not with the jerking twitch of the others, but with a slow, unfolding stretch, as if it had been waiting for years to rise. The air grew thick, heavy, pressing against Emma's chest until every breath was a struggle. The whispers fell silent. The attic seemed to lean inward, holding still for the moment when the figure finally turned its head. Its face wasn't blank like the others. It was wrong in a different way. Sunken sockets where eyes should have been, dark hollows dripping with a glistening film. Its mouth stretched too wide, splitting cracked lips as it smiled, teeth black and uneven. Emma staggered back, pulling Lily with her. "Mark!" The thing whispered, not into the air but directly into her mind. "We were always here!" The barricaded door behind them shuddered violently, boxes toppling against the floorboards. And the hollow chorus outside rose again, a deafening roar of voices, because whatever was in the attic with them had called the others closer. The barricade buckled under the pounding fists below. Each impact rattled the floor, sending dust raining from the rafters. Emma dragged Lily behind a stack of crates, shielding her with her body, her heart pounding so hard it felt like the creature might hear it. Mark stood rooted, flashlight beam shaking as it clung to the thing in the corner. His knuckles were white on the chair leg, but his feet wouldn't move. The figure unfurled itself fully now, rising higher than seemed possible in the cramped attic. Bones cracked as its limbs straightened, joints bending the wrong way before snapping into place. The wet strands of hair clung to its skull as if they'd grown there underwater. And that mouth, still smiling. The voice in Emma's head deepened, layered now with countless others. "We know you, we know your fear," Mark finally roared, swinging the chair leg with all his strength. It connected with the creature's shoulder, splintering wood. The impact echoed through the attic. For a moment Emma thought he'd actually heard it. Then it turned its eyeless face toward him. The smile never faltered. Mark froze. The chair leg slipped from his grip, clattering to the floor. His body stiffened like he'd been turned to stone. Emma scrambled forward, grabbing his arm. "Mark! Move!" But his eyes were wide and glassy, pupils dilated. His mouth hung open as if he were about to speak, but only a hollow rasp spilled out. The creature tilted its head slowly, so slowly, like savoring the moment. Emma yanked harder, but Mark's legs wouldn't move. His body swayed once, then began stepping toward the thing, slow and mechanical, like a puppet on strings. "No!" Emma screamed. The whispers in her mind sharpened, stabbing like knives. "He's ours, you thought it, you gave him to us." Tears blurred her vision. She clutched Lily tighter with one arm while dragging uselessly at Mark with the other. But the more she fought, the stronger the pull seemed to be. Mark reached the creature, his face slack, breath shallow. The figure bent down, lowering its head until its mouth hovered near his ear. Emma couldn't hear what it said aloud, if it said anything at all, but Mark shuddered. Then, slowly, he turned his head back toward Emma. And smiled. Emma's stomach dropped into a pit of ice. That smile, it wasn't his. It stretched too wide across his face, pulling skin taut at the corners, making his cheeks tremble with the effort of holding it. "Mark," she whispered, voice breaking. He took a step toward her. Slow. Deliberate. His eyes shimmered with something unnatural, as if a pale light was glowing beneath the surface. Lily screamed and buried her face against Emma's chest. "That's not Dad! That's not him!" Emma backed away, dragging Lily with her. Her heel caught on a broken crate, nearly sending them sprawling. The attic seemed to tilt around them, every shadow twitching as if leaning closer. "Fight it!" Emma cried. "Mark, please fight it!" But his mouth opened, and the voice that came out wasn't his. "Hungry!" It was hollow. Empty. The sound of air passing through a cavern with no end. Emma's sob caught in her throat. She remembered the carvings on the walls. They hear what you think. Don't think of the door. She had thought of him, of losing him, of the horror of them taking him, and now they had. The creature stepped back, retreating into the shadows, leaving Mark as its emissary. He advanced another step, his movements jerky, puppet-like. His hand twitched at his side, fingers clawing the air as if already reaching for her throat. Emma's gaze darted to the barricade. It wouldn't hold much longer. The pounding grew more frenzied, wood splintering with each blow. She could feel the pressure of dozens, maybe hundreds, waiting to pour in. There was no way out. Unless... Her eyes landed on a small, dust-choked window at the far end of the attic. It was barely larger than a crawl space, glass fogged with grime. But it was something. "Lily," she whispered urgently, shaking her daughter. "Listen to me. We're going to that window. Do you understand?" Lily sniffled, eyes huge and wet. "What about Dad?" Emma's chest clenched. She forced her voice to stay steady. He's not himself right now. We have to go." Mark's head jerked unnaturally to the side, that grotesque tilt the hollow ones wore. His smile widened, cracked lips bleeding at the corners. Emma grabbed Lily's hand and ran. Mark lunged after them, his footsteps heavy and uneven. The attic shook with the combined pounding of the hollow ones below and the puppet steps of the man who had once been her husband. Emma's shoulders slammed into the window frame. She clawed at the rusted latch, coughing as dust filled her throat. The glass shuddered but wouldn't give. Behind her, Mark's hollow rasp drew closer. Hungry! Emma's hands shook as she beat her fists against the window pane. The glass rattled but held stubbornly, years of grime and rust sealing it in place. Behind her, Mark's footsteps dragged closer, uneven and mechanical, the hollow rasp pouring from his mouth with every exhale. Hungry! Hungry! Mom! Lily shrieked, tugging at her sleeve. He's coming! Emma let out a raw cry, slamming her elbow into the window frame. Wood splintered, paint cracked. She drew back and threw her shoulder into it. Once. Twice. On the third strike, the glass shattered outward in a rain of shards, spilling into the storm. Cold night air rushed into the attic like a gasp of freedom. Go! She screamed, lifting Lily toward the opening. Lily scrambled through, her small frame barely squeezing past the jagged edges. Emma shoved her the rest of the way, ignoring the glass that tore at her palms. Outside, Lily tumbled onto the slick roof tiles with a cry. Emma turned back, just in time to see Mark's hand swipe at her throat. She ducked, his fingernails grazing her cheek like ice. His body loomed over her, eyes glowing faintly in the dark, his smile stretched to a grotesque grin. Tears blurred her vision. Mark, please, she sobbed. You're stronger than them. Fight it! But his head twitched violently, neck snapping side to side in a jerky spasm. And that hollow chorus poured out of him, louder than ever. Hungry! 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 Emma grabbed a broken shard of glass from the floor, holding it up between them with trembling hands. Don't make me do this, she begged. Mark lunged again. Emma thrust the shard forward. It sliced across his arm, deep, but he didn't flinch. No blood spilled, only a dark, viscous fluid that glistened in the dim light like tar. Emma stumbled back in horror. Oh God! The barricaded door shuddered violently, crates tumbling down as splinters exploded into the attic. The hollow chorus below rose in fever pitch, dozens of voices howling in unison. Emma scrambled through the window, cutting her arm on the broken frame as she pulled herself out onto the roof. Rain pelted her face, washing away blood and sweat. Lily clung to the tiles, wide-eyed, reaching for her. Inside the attic, Mark's twisted face appeared at the window. His glowing eyes locked on Emma as his tar-dark mouth split wider than it should have been possible. You can't leave! And then his hands gripped the frame, dragging himself out into the storm after her. The roof groaned beneath their weight, slick with rain and treacherous. Emma clutched Lily's hand tightly, her heart hammering as she pulled them both along the steep incline. Wind whipped their hair across their faces, cold and biting. Behind them, Mark crawled through the shattered window. His movements were jerky, inhuman, his limbs bending too wide as if his joints had been rewired. The black fluid still oozed down his arm, streaking the roof tiles like oil. His smile hadn't faltered. Don't look back, Emma urged, her voice breaking. Just keep moving! Lily whimpered but obeyed, scrambling on hands and knees toward the edge where a rusted gutter hung loose. The storm made every step feel like it might be their last. A hollow wail erupted from inside the diner, voices surging as the barricade finally gave way. Glass shattered, wood splintered, and the chorus spilled out into the storm. Emma didn't dare glance down. She could already feel them pouring into the streets, filling the square again, craning their heads up at the roof. Mark's voice cut through the rain, hollow and layered. You are ours! Emma risked a glance. He was crawling faster now, spider-like, his limbs contorting as he scuttled across the wet tiles. His glowing eyes never blinked, never left her. She pushed Lily toward the gutter. Climb down! Now! Lily shook her head, sobbing. I can't, I'll fall. Emma knelt, gripping her daughter's face. Listen to me, baby. You have to. I'll be right behind you. Another howl rose from below, so loud it rattled Emma's bones. Dozens of pale faces pressed against the diner windows now, eyes glowing faintly in the stormlight. Their mouths moved in unison, though the sound poured into Emma's mind rather than the air. Jump, fall, break. Lily squeezed her eyes shut and swung one leg over the edge. Emma helped her lower herself, gripping the rusted gutter with both hands. The metal groaned under her small weight, but it held. Emma turned just as Mark lunged. His hand clamped onto her ankle, nails digging into her skin like hooks. She screamed, kicking wildly. Rain blinded her, cold and sharp, but she could feel his grip tightening. "Mark! Let go!" He tilted his head, mouth stretched into that inhuman grin, the hollow chorus spilling out between his teeth. "You'll never leave." Emma drove her free foot into his chest with all her strength. He slid back on the slick tiles, fingers scraping against her skin before losing their hold. For an instant, his body teetered on the edge. Then he dropped, vanishing into the darkness below. Emma's scream tore through the storm, raw and jagged. But before she could even crawl to the edge, the voices below erupted in frenzy, welcoming him. Emma's chest heaved as she scrambled to the edge of the roof, rain plastering her hair to her face. She peered down, heart screaming for a glimpse of Mark. But the square was no longer empty. They were there, the hollow ones, dozens of them, crowding below with their heads tilted up, pale faces gleaming in the stormlight. They had caught him. Mark's body was lifted among them, his limbs limp as they passed him hand to hand like an offering. His head lolled, mouth still fixed in that hideous smile. Emma clapped a hand over her mouth, choking on a sob. "Mom!" Lily's desperate cry snapped her back. Emma spun around. Her daughter clung to the gutter, knuckles white, legs dangling in open air. The metal creaked dangerously under her weight. Emma slid across the slick tiles on her stomach, reaching out. "Hold on, baby! Don't let go! I can't!" Lily's voice cracked. Her shoes slipped against the wall. Emma grabbed her wrist just as the gutter's screws tore loose with a screech. The rusted metal ripped away from the wall, dangling with Lily still attached. "No!" Emma screamed, muscles straining as she hauled her daughter upward, ignoring the glass slicing into her palms from the broken window frame. Every nerve burned, but inch by inch, she pulled Lily back onto the roof. They collapsed together against the tiles, trembling, rain soaking them through. Emma hugged her daughter so tight it hurt. "I've got you! I've got you!" From below, the voices rose higher. "Give her to us! Hungry! Hungry!" Emma's eyes darted to the roofline. They couldn't stay here. The gutter was gone, and the drop was too far. She scanned the rooftop desperately. There, a rusty fire escape bolted to the side of the building, half hidden by vines. "Come on," she whispered, dragging Lily toward it. They scrambled across the slick tiles, Emma's legs shaking beneath her. The fire escape clung to the wall like a skeleton, its lowest ladder hanging just out of reach. Emma helped Lily climb onto the narrow ledge and shoved her upward. "Grab it!" Lily stretched, fingers hooking the bottom rung. With a sob, she pulled herself up. Emma followed, her arms burning, chest raw from gasping for air. They climbed down rung by rung, metal slippery under their hands. Halfway down, Emma made the mistake of looking back. The hollow ones were spilling from the diner now, dozens of them, their pale faces lifting to the storm. And in their center, carried on their hands, Mark twisted upright, his glowing eyes locking on her. The chorus surged, louder than thunder. "You can't run!" Emma screamed, forcing herself and Lily down the last rungs. They hit the ground running, splashing through puddles, the storm wrapping them in darkness. And behind them, Dunlow's streets began to fill. The streets of Dunlow stretched like a labyrinth, each one lined with buildings that sagged under the weight of time. The storm blurred everything, but Emma didn't dare slow down. She pulled Lily by the hand, their soaked shoes slapping against the pavement as they sprinted past shattered windows and doorways yawning with black. Behind them, the hollow ones poured into the street, their numbers multiplying with every corner. Their movements were jerky, unnatural, yet somehow relentless. They didn't stumble. They didn't tire. And their chorus shook the air like a storm within the storm. "Hungry, she is ours! Run, run, run!" Emma's chest burned, every breath sharp and ragged. "Don't listen, Lily! Just run!" Lily sobbed, keeping pace beside her, her blanket long lost to the rain. They darted into a side alley, narrow and choked with debris. The stink of mildew and rot filled Emma's nostrils. She shoved aside a toppled trash can and pulled Lily through, their hands slippery but locked tight. The alley bent left, then opened into another square. This one was smaller, ringed with storefronts whose signs had rotted into illegibility. A rusted swing set stood at the center, the chains clinking faintly in the wind. The sight sent a chill down Emma's spine. It was as though the town had staged it, waiting for them. Lily slowed, breath hitching. "Mom, where are we going?" Emma's eyes scanned wildly. Every road out of the square looked the same: fog, shadows, the same slumping buildings. No direction felt safe. We keep moving." But even as she said it, a new sound slithered through the air. Not the chorus. Not the pounding of countless feet. A bell. A single, hollow toll, rolling over the rooftops. Emma froze. The sound vibrated deep in her ribs, heavy, wrong. She glanced toward the source. The church steeple loomed above the rooftops, its leaning cross silhouetted against flashes of lightning. The bell tolled again. And the hollow ones answered. Their chorus shifted, deepened, synchronized with the tolling, as though the bell were their command. Lily clutched Emma's arm. "It's calling them!" Emma's stomach twisted. She didn't know what waited at that church, but she knew the town was pulling them toward it, hurting them. The bell tolled a third time, and from the fog ahead, figures emerged to block the alley they had just left. Jerky, staggering, faces tilted and blank. The square was closing in. Emma yanked Lily behind the rusted swing set, her heart slamming so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. The hollow ones drifted into the square from every opening, their pale bodies shimmering in the rain. Dozens of them now, maybe more. Their heads lolled at sickening angles, mouths moving in perfect unison with the toll of the church bell. "Hungry, hungry!" Emma pressed Lily's face into her chest, whispering frantically. "Don't look at them! Don't listen!" But the words meant nothing. The voices were inside her skull, vibrating through her teeth, sinking into her bones. Her vision wavered, the edges of the square seeming to bend and stretch with the sound. The bell tolled again. The hollow ones stopped. Every head turned toward the church at the same instant. Slowly, they raised their arms, pointing. Emma's stomach twisted. "They want us to go there." Lily shook her head violently, sobbing. "I don't want to! I don't want to!" Emma clutched her daughter tighter. "Neither do I." But the hollow ones began to move again, not rushing this time, but closing in with slow, inevitable steps. Hurting them. Driving them. Every path led toward the looming steeple. Emma's breaths came shallow and fast. Her mind screamed for escape, but there was nowhere left. No car. No roads. Only the church. "Okay," she whispered, tears hot in her eyes despite the rain. "Okay, baby. We'll go. But we'll find a way out once we're inside. Do you hear me? We'll find a way." Lily's little hands dug into her jacket, clinging tight. Emma rose, pulling her daughter close, and began to walk. The hollow ones parted as they approached, their empty eyes glowing faintly in the stormlight. Their chorus softened, becoming almost a hum, expectant, patient. The church doors loomed taller with every step. Two great slabs of weathered wood, blackened with age, iron hinges rusting. Above them, the steeple creaked under the weight of its leaning cross. The bell tolled again, shaking the air. Emma's hand reached for the door handle, slick with rain and grime. Her chest heaved, her every nerve screaming not to open it. But behind her, the hollow ones pressed closer, their breathless chorus swelling. She pushed. The doors groaned wide. Inside was darkness. And something waiting. The church air was thick, stale, like a cellar left sealed for a century. It smelled of mildew, rot, and something sour, like flesh left too long in the rain. Emma hesitated in the doorway, clutching Lily so tight the girl whimpered. The heavy doors creaked shut behind them with a sound that seemed final, like a lock clicking into place. The hollow chorus outside dimmed, muffled by the stone walls. For the first time in what felt like hours, Emma could hear her own ragged breaths. Lightning flared through a crack-stained glass window, briefly illuminating the nave. Wooden pews stretched in uneven rows, warped and splintered. Mold crawled across the stone floor. At the far end, the altar stood draped in a cloth blackened with time, its edges gnawed away. Emma's eyes tracked upward. The bell rope dangled from the ceiling, swaying faintly even though there was no wind inside. Each movement seemed to tug at her chest, like it wasn't rope at all but a tether. Lily's whisper trembled against her ear. "Mom, there's someone up there." Emma's stomach clenched. Slowly, her gaze followed the curve of the shadows near the altar. A figure stood just beyond the flickering light. It was taller than the others, broader, dressed in the tattered remnants of priests' robes. Its head was bowed, hands clasped in front of it as if in prayer. When lightning lit the nave again, Emma saw its face. Or what was left of it. The skin had sloughed away in places, revealing gleaming bone. Its mouth stretched wide, lips torn, yet the jaw moved with mechanical devotion. From that ruined mouth spilled not words, but the hollow bell told itself. Every vibration rattled the pews, echoing through the stone like the heartbeat of the town. Emma staggered back, nearly tripping over a pew. Lily clung tighter, shaking. The priest's head tilted, joints cracking as it lifted to look at them. Its eyes, 2 pits blacker than the church's shadows, seemed to drink the light. The doors behind them thundered. The hollow ones were pressing against the wood, their chorus swelling again, merging with the toll spilling from the priest's throat. Emma's ears rang. The sound pressed inside her skull, demanding surrender. The priest stretched one hand toward them, fingers long and bone-thin. "Kneel!" The word reverberated not in the air but in Emma's mind, vibrating down to her teeth. Lily whimpered, sinking against her. Emma shook her head violently, clamping her hands over her daughter's ears. "No," she rasped. "We're not yours." But the priest's hollow grin widened, and the bell rope swayed harder, tugging. "You were always ours." Emma's knees buckled under the weight of the word. "Kneel." It wasn't just a command, it was gravity itself, pulling her down. Her muscles trembled as if her body no longer belonged to her. She clenched her teeth, forcing herself upright, clutching Lily against her chest like an anchor. "No," she hissed, though her voice was barely more than breath. The priest's ruined face twitched in mockery of a smile. The toll of the bell deepened, echoing through the nave, each vibration pressing heavier against her skull. Lily cried out. "Mom, it's in my head! Make it stop!" Emma spun toward the pews, dragging her daughter with her, trying to put anything between them and that towering figure. She shoved Lily beneath a pew and crouched down with her, both of them pressed into the damp wood as the sound shook dust loose from the rafters. The priest's steps echoed on the stone, slow, deliberate. Every footfall was another toll, another wave of force that made Emma's vision blur at the edges. Then she heard it. Whispers, soft and urgent, coming not from the priest but from the cracks between the pews. Emma froze, straining to listen. "Not all are theirs. Find the book. End it." Her heart stuttered. She pressed her ear closer to the warped wood. The whispers grew clearer, though faint, like voices buried deep underground. "Behind the altar, hurry!" Emma's blood ran cold. It could be another trick. But it didn't sound like the priest. These voices weren't hollow, they were human. Faint, desperate. She gripped Lily's hand. "Stay down. Stay quiet." Lily's wide eyes shimmered with tears, but she nodded. Emma slid from beneath the pew, crouching low, keeping to the shadows as lightning flickered through the stained glass. The priest loomed near the center aisle, head cocked unnaturally, scanning the pews with those black pits of eyes. Emma moved like a shadow herself, slipping from one pew to the next, each step muffled by the storm outside. Her gaze locked on the altar. Another toll shook the walls. The bell rope swayed violently now, swinging like a pendulum. Emma reached the altar, pressing her palms against the moldy cloth. Her fingers found a split seam along the edge. She tugged. The cloth tore with a wet sound, revealing a hollow recess carved into the stone. Inside lay a book. Its cover was cracked leather, bound with strips of something that looked disturbingly like sinew. Symbols were burned into the surface, shifting faintly when her eyes tried to focus on them. The moment her fingers brushed the cover, the hollow chorus outside howled. The priest's head snapped toward her. No! The church shook as though the very walls recoiled. Emma's pulse hammered in her ears. She had found something they didn't want her to touch. And that meant it mattered. The priest let out a roar, the sound of the bell toll fracturing into a jagged shriek that rattled the stained glass. Emma staggered back, clutching the book to her chest. The leather was damp, almost warm, as if it had a pulse of its own. The hollow ones outside answered the priest's scream. Their fists pounded the church doors, their chorus rising in a frenzy that shook the hinges loose. Splinters of wood burst inward with each strike. Emma spun, spotting Lily still huddled beneath the pew. "Run!" she screamed. "Get behind me!" Lily scrambled out, darting toward her mother, but the priest moved faster. It crossed the nave in a lurching stride, robes dragging across the stone, its ruined face splitting wider as it reached one skeletal hand toward Lily. "No!" Emma roared. She raised the book instinctively. The symbols across its cover glowed faintly, a sickly red light spilling into the dark nave. The priest froze mid-step, its body convulsing like it had slammed into an invisible wall. The chorus outside faltered, their pounding slowing to a dull, uncertain rhythm. Emma's breath came in gasps. She held the book higher. "Stay away from her!" The priest hissed, its voice doubling, tripling, echoing through her mind. "You don't know what you hold!" Emma's hands shook, but she forced her voice steady. "Then tell me!" The priest recoiled, its mouth working silently for a moment. Finally, the voice returned, low and venomous. "It binds us, it frees us, it ends us." Emma's grip tightened. Her mind flashed with the whispered warning she had heard beneath the pews. Find the book. End it. She opened the cover. The leather creaked, releasing a stench of rot and sulfur. Inside, the pages writhed with shifting ink, symbols rearranging themselves faster than her eyes could follow. It was like staring into a language not meant for human sight. The priest shrieked, stumbling backward, clawing at its ruined face. The bell above tolled once, then again, each note distorted, breaking apart into static. The church doors buckled, a massive crack splitting down the center. Pale hands thrust through, clawing at the air. Lily cried out, clinging to Emma's leg. "Mom, what do we do?" Emma's vision blurred. The book's pages seemed to pull her in, the symbols whispering directly into her skull. She felt her thoughts unraveling, twisting, as if the book itself was choosing what to show her. And through the storm of voices, one phrase carved itself into her mind. "Read the words aloud." Emma's throat went dry. Her eyes darted across the writhing symbols. But every time she blinked they changed, rearranging into shapes that stabbed at her mind. Her stomach churned. Reading them felt impossible, like trying to hold water in her hands. The priest staggered forward again, clawing at the air. Its voice thundered through the nave. "Don't speak! Silence binds you, silence feeds us!" The hollow ones outside howled in unison, fists battering the doors harder. The wood split further, iron hinges shrieking. Any moment, they would pour in. "Mom!" Lily sobbed, pulling at her arm. "Please, please do something!" Emma's chest heaved. She forced her eyes back onto the book. The symbols twisted, then, for an instant, they steadied. A pattern emerged, jagged lines glowing faintly red. The words formed in her mind, burning themselves into her tongue. She opened her mouth. The sound that came out was not her own voice. It was deeper, layered, as if 1,000 voices spoke with her. "Kiltoran vash, nethra umbriel." The priest shrieked, clutching its skull as black smoke bled from its ruined mouth. The bell above wailed, not a toll but a scream, its rope jerking violently. Stained glass shattered, shards raining down like colored knives. The hollow ones froze mid-step, their hands still pressed through the cracked doors. Their chorus broke into discordant moans, some shrill, some guttural, all writhing in pain. Emma's body trembled. Her skin burned as if fire coursed beneath it. The book pulsed against her palms, urging her to continue. Vaith Neruin, Eshter Kl. The priest roared, its voice rattling the rafters. Stop! It lunged at her, robes whipping through the air, clawed hands reaching. Emma screamed the last word the book seared into her throat. Cath rose! The word exploded through the church like a blast of thunder. The priest's body convulsed, splitting with cracks that glowed red from within. Black smoke poured from its mouth and eyes as it collapsed onto the stone. The bell above snapped free from its beam, crashing down into the nave with an earth-shaking clang that split the floor wide open. The hollow ones shrieked in unison, their voices warping into cries that sounded almost human. They staggered back from the church doors, clutching their heads, some collapsing into the mud outside. Emma dropped the book. Her chest heaved, her ears ringing from the sound. The church fell silent, except for the storm. Lily looked up at her, trembling. Mom, what did you do? Emma's hands shook as she reached for her daughter. She wanted to answer, to say it was over. But in the silence, a new whisper slid into her mind. Soft. Patient. Certain. You didn't end it, you opened it. Emma froze, the whisper crawling through her skull like a centipede. Her arms tightened around Lily, every nerve screaming at her to deny it, to believe the nightmare was finally over. But the church told another story. The shattered bell lay cracked in the center of the nave, smoke curling from its hollow mouth. The floor around it gaped open, a jagged wound in the stone, as though the earth itself had been split. From that wound rose a faint red glow, pulsing in rhythm with Emma's heartbeat. Lily buried her face in her chest. Mom, let's go home. Please, I just want to go home. Emma's throat tightened. I know, baby. I know. But where was home now? Dunlow had twisted the road, turned every step into a trap. And Mark. Her chest wrenched. Mark's face flashed in her mind, smiling that hollow, tar-slick smile as he fell. A sob clawed up her throat, but she forced it down. She couldn't break now. Not with Lily depending on her. The book lay at her feet, its cover still faintly glowing. Emma glared at it like it was a venomous snake. You tricked me. The symbols pulsed once, as if in reply. Mark's voice slid through her skull then, not his real voice, but the hollow one he'd worn at the end. Emma. She stumbled back, nearly slipping on the broken glass. No. No, you're not him. But the whisper coiled tighter. Emma, it's me. I can come back, you just have to finish it. Tears blurred her vision. For a heartbeat, she wanted to believe. Wanted to reach down, pick up the book, and bring him back. But beneath the voice was laughter, thin, hungry, endless. Emma pressed her palms against her ears, shaking her head violently. You're not real. You're not him. The red glow from the crack pulsed brighter, spilling long shadows across the pews. And in those shadows, shapes moved. Not the hollow ones. They were still outside, their moans faint now, fading like smoke. No, these were different. Thin hands stretched upward from the crack in the floor. Dozens of them. Pale and skeletal, reaching, clawing, as if something buried deep beneath Dunlow was climbing free. Lily's scream split the silence. Mom! Emma grabbed her daughter's hand and pulled her toward the door. The great slabs of wood still leaned inward from the hollow one's assault, but now they hung slightly ajar. A narrow path of muddy light bled in through the storm. Behind them, the hands were pulling themselves higher, shapes rising from the crack. Figures with no eyes, no mouths, only gaping hollows where their faces should be. And their whispers joined the rest. She opened it. It begins again. Emma shoved hard against the church doors. The swollen wood groaned, scraping stone, then gave way with a lurch. Rain hammered down, soaking her as she dragged Lily into the storm. The square outside was empty. The hollow ones were gone. The streets that had teemed with their slack faces now lay silent, puddles rippling in the rain. Abandoned again, as if the town had simply inhaled them back into its lungs. Emma's chest heaved. Run, she whispered, and they splashed across the broken cobblestones, away from the church. The bell's final toll still echoed in her bones. But another sound followed them now, the creak and groan of the church behind, the shifting of stone as the crack in its floor widened. She didn't dare look back, but she felt it. The town wasn't just alive. It was waking up. Lily stumbled, clutching her mother's hand. "Where are we going?" "Out," Emma gasped. "We just keep moving until we find a way out." Her eyes darted to the buildings around them. They were different now. The diner where they'd hidden, gone. In its place stood a row of houses, windows dark, doors yawning wide. Streets twisted in ways she didn't remember, bending unnaturally, folding in on themselves like a maze. Emma's stomach turned cold. The town was rearranging itself. A whisper slithered through the rain. Mark's voice again, soft and coaxing. "This way." Emma froze, clutching Lily close. The voice had come from the alley to their left. She stared into its depthless shadows, rain dripping like chains. "Mom?" Lily tugged at her sleeve. "That sounded like Dad." Emma's heart twisted. She wanted to run into that alley, to find him, to believe he could still be saved. But she remembered the tar dripping from his veins, the hollow grin stretching his face. "No," she whispered hoarsely. "That's not him. It's never him." She pulled Lily onward, forcing her legs to move. The rain blurred everything into smears of gray and black. The streets bent again, and ahead, lantern light glimmered through the mist. Emma's chest hitched. For an instant, hope surged. Maybe it was the edge of town. Maybe it was a way out. But as they drew closer, the light revealed a wooden sign. Her breath hitched. "Welcome to Dunlow. Founded 1873. The same sign. Again. Lily sobbed, collapsing against her side. "We can't get out. We'll never get out." Emma's tears mingled with the rain. She wrapped both arms around her daughter, holding her as tightly as she could. "Don't say that. Don't ever say that." The lanterns flickered. The signs would creaked. And from the mist ahead, figures began to emerge once more, pale and hollow, stepping into the light. The town hadn't let them go. It had only reset the game. Emma staggered backward, dragging Lily with her. The hollow ones filed silently into the road, their faces slack, their eyes milk white. Each head tilted the same way, as if pulled by invisible strings. The storm seemed quieter here, muffled under the weight of their presence. Rain tapped against the lantern glass, dripping down the wooden post of the Welcome to Dunlow sign. The town's heartbeat pulsed beneath it all, steady, inevitable. "Hungry!" They breathed in unison, their voices hollow winds funneling through Emma's skull. Lily sobbed against her chest. "Why won't they let us go?" Emma's arms shook as she held her, staring into that wall of pale bodies. Her mind clawed for answers, for escape, but every road bent back to this sign. Every path fed the town. Her gaze dropped to the book still clutched in her hand. The leather writhed faintly, symbols glowing like embers through the rain. She wanted to hurl it into the mud, to sever whatever tether had wrapped itself around them. But the whispers came again, curling from the book itself. "You can end it," finished the words. Emma's lip trembled. "You lied before." "We didn't lie. We only opened the door. You can close it again." She remembered the priest's collapse, the smoke pouring from its mouth. She remembered the hollow ones faltering, voices breaking. The book had power. But power in Dunlow was poisoned, every gift a trap. The hollow ones advanced. Their bare feet slapped against the wet stone, arms limp, mouths open in soundless hunger. Lily clutched her mother's soaked jacket. "Mom, please!" Emma's breath tore ragged from her lungs. She flipped open the book with trembling hands. Pages writhed beneath her eyes, shifting, snarling, rearranging into a language that cut at her mind. But buried within the storm of symbols, she saw them, the words she had spoken before, now glowing brighter, demanding to be finished. "Speak!" the book urged. The hollow ones broke into a run. Emma screamed into the rain, forcing the words through her throat. "Vaith Neruan! Eshter KL!" Cathros. The last word caught, strangled in her throat. Something pressed against her mind, hundreds of hands clawing inside her skull, tearing at her tongue. No! The hollow ones roared in unison. Their chorus struck like a hammer. Emma staggered, blood dripping from her nose, the book rattling in her grip. Lily clutched her tighter, both of them collapsing to their knees. The hollow ones surged closer, faces inches from theirs, their hollow mouths opening wider, wider. And Emma forced the last word out with a scream that shredded her throat. Cathros! Lightning split the sky. The ground cracked open. And Dunlow screamed. The scream of the town was not a sound but a force. It ripped through Emma's chest, bowing her spine, tearing the breath from her lungs. Windows shattered in every building around the square. The welcome to Dunlow's sign splintered in two, lanterns bursting into sparks. The hollow ones convulsed. Their mouths stretched wide in perfect unison, but no sound came out. Their bodies jerked like marionettes on breaking strings. One by one, they collapsed into the mud, dissolving into black water that steamed against the rain. Emma clutched Lily to her chest, shielding her from the shards of glass raining down. Her ears rang, her vision blurred, but she forced her gaze upward. The book pulsed red in her hand, burning against her skin. Pages flared with light, symbols tearing themselves free and spiraling into the storm above. The clouds churned, splitting open to reveal not sky but a vast, seething darkness, an abyss writhing with shapes too massive to comprehend. Dunlow wasn't just a town. It was a threshold. The scream peaked, then collapsed into silence so deep Emma thought she'd gone deaf. Rain pattered faintly again, timid, as if afraid. The square lay empty now, hollow ones gone, their black puddles evaporating into steam. Emma's chest heaved. She looked down at Lily. "It's over," she whispered, though her voice shook with doubt. "We did it. It's over." But the book still glowed. The whisper returned, low, calm, almost tender. "Not ended, sealed, until another speaks." Emma's blood turned to ice. She looked at the pages, now blank, their light fading. The book sagged heavy in her hands, a weight that felt older than time. She wanted to throw it into the mud, bury it, burn it. But deep down she knew, this book couldn't be destroyed. Only carried. Past. Hidden. A new sound stirred. Not hollow ones. Not bells. A distant hum of tires on wet pavement. Emma's head snapped up. Through the mist at the edge of town, headlights glowed. A car rolled slowly toward the broken sign, wipers squealing against the windshield. Lily gasped. "It's someone else." Emma's heart seized. Another family. Another traveler lured here. She looked at the book, at her daughter, then at the approaching lights. And she realized with horror what Dunlow had done. The town hadn't been destroyed. It had been fed. The headlights cut through the mist, bright and steady, growing larger as the vehicle approached. Emma staggered to her feet, clutching Lily's hand with one arm and the book with the other. Her legs trembled with exhaustion, every step heavy, but she forced herself forward into the road. She raised her free hand, waving frantically. "Stop! Don't come any closer!" The car slowed. Rain gleamed across its hood as it rolled to a halt a few yards away. Through the windshield, Emma saw shapes: a man at the wheel, a woman in the passenger seat, two children in the back. Her heart clenched. "Just like us." The driver cracked his window. His voice carried, muffled by the storm. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" Emma shook her head violently, tears mixing with rain. "Turn around! Please, you have to turn around right now!" Confusion flickered across the man's face. He leaned closer to hear. "What?" "We're lost. Our GPS." The mist behind them stirred. Emma's stomach dropped. Figures were taking shape again, pale outlines forming in the rain. Dozens of them. Their faces were still blank, still tilted, though their movements were slower this time, like they were waking from a deep sleep, stretching back into the world. "No," Emma whispered. "Not again." The book burned hot in her hand, the symbols faintly glowing once more. Whispers slithered across her mind. Pass it on, let them carry it, you'll be free. Her knees buckled. She wanted, God, she wanted, to hand it through that window, to shove the curse into someone else's hands and finally be done. She could take Lily and run, maybe escape before the road bent back again. But Lily's tiny fingers squeezed her wrist. Mom, she whispered, eyes wide and wet. Don't. Emma stared at her daughter, the only anchor keeping her from breaking apart. If she gave the book away, another family would be trapped. Another child would scream in the dark. Emma shook her head fiercely. She clutched the book tighter, stepping back from the car. Go! She screamed, her voice raw. Get out of here! Turn around! The driver's face shifted from confusion to fear. He slammed the car into reverse, tires screeching as he spun back into the mist. The headlights dwindled, swallowed whole. Emma collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Lily threw her arms around her, burying her face in her mother's chest. The book pulsed once more, satisfied. You chose, you carry it still. And as the whispers faded, the hollow ones stopped their advance. They stood silently at the edges of the square, staring, waiting. Emma realized the truth. She and Lily had survived. But survival had a price. The rain eased into a thin drizzle, leaving the square drenched in silence. The hollow ones lingered at the edges, motionless, their pale eyes fixed on Emma and Lily as if bound by invisible leashes. They made no move to approach, no sound to break the heavy air. Emma staggered upright, clutching the book to her chest. Every nerve screamed to run, but she sensed that running wouldn't matter. The town wasn't finished with her, it was watching, deciding. Lily's small hand slipped into hers, trembling. Mom, are we trapped here forever? Emma forced her voice steady, though her insides twisted. No. We'll find a way out. I promise. But promises felt paper-thin and done low. The mist shifted again. Slowly, the streets realigned. Where moments ago alleys bent and folded in impossible ways, now a single road stretched outward, straight and clear, cutting into the dark woods. Emma's chest tightened. It looked like a way out. Lily gasped softly. It's letting us go. Emma wasn't so sure. She studied the hollow ones, rows of faces slack with emptiness, still as statues. Their heads tilted in eerie unison, following her every move. They weren't attacking. They weren't dispersing. They were waiting. The book pulsed in her arms, faint and steady, like the heartbeat of something vast and buried. Carry us until the next. Emma's stomach churned. She wanted to scream, to fling it into the mud and watch the rain devour it. But she knew it wouldn't stay there. It would find her again. Or worse, it would find someone else. The road stretched ahead, black and gleaming. For the first time since entering Dunlow, it didn't curve back on itself. Emma swallowed hard and tightened her grip on Lily's hand. We walk. And we don't look back. They stepped onto the road. The hollow ones did not follow. They only turned their faces, mouths parting as if exhaling a long, final sigh. The mist thinned as they walked, trees looming taller, their roots gnarled and slick with rain. The air grew lighter, the storm breaking. At last, Emma saw the faint glow of dawn pressing through the branches. Lily squeezed her hand. Mom, I think we made it. Emma's heart ached with fragile hope. She forced herself to believe it. Yeah, baby. We did. But even as she spoke, she felt the weight of the book like a chain against her chest. They had left Dunlow. But Dunlow had not left them. The woods gave way to open road. At first Emma didn't trust it. The sight of painted lines, cracked asphalt, and a green highway sign half hidden in the mist felt like another trick. But the air smelled different here, cleaner. The oppressive weight that had hung over Dunlow loosened its grip with every step they took. Lily spotted it first. Cars! Emma looked up. In the distance, faint headlights cut through the early dawn haze. A semi-truck rumbled past, the whine of its engine so ordinary it made her chest ache with relief. They were out. For the first time since the storm began, Emma let herself breathe. She pulled Lily into her arms, holding her until her arms shook. "We made it, baby. We really made it." But when she pulled back, her gaze fell on the book pressed between them. Its cover was dry despite the rain, the leather warm as living skin. The symbols glowed faintly under her touch, pulsing like a second heartbeat. Her stomach turned. She wanted to hurl it into the ditch, bury it under mud and roots, leave it for Dunlow to choke on. But as soon as the thought formed, the whisper slid into her mind. "You can't leave us. We are bound, until the next—" Emma staggered, clutching her temples. "Get out of my head!" Lily tugged her sleeve, eyes wide. "Mom? What's wrong?" Emma forced herself to her feet. She couldn't let Lily see. Couldn't let her feel how deep the route went. "Nothing, baby. Just tired." They walked until the sun burned the last of the mist away. Eventually, a passing car slowed, the driver leaning out to call. "Hey! You two need a ride?" Emma hesitated. She glanced at Lily, then at the book in her hands. The ordinary world stretched before them again. Gas stations, motels, exits leading anywhere but there. She nodded slowly. "Yes. Please." The man opened the back door. Lily climbed in first, her small frame sinking into the cracked leather seat. Emma followed, the book pressed to her chest like an infant she couldn't abandon. The car pulled away, tires hissing on wet asphalt. The driver glanced at them in the mirror. "Rough night?" Emma managed a hollow laugh. "You have no idea." The man smiled faintly and turned back to the road. Lily leaned against her mother, eyes fluttering closed at last. Emma stroked her hair, staring out the window. The sun rose higher, painting the sky gold. It should have felt like an ending. But deep inside the book, something stirred. A single word pulsed against her mind, patient and certain. "Soon." Emma closed her eyes, clutching Lily tighter. The road stretched endlessly ahead. The hum of the car engine and the rhythmic thump of tires on wet pavement should have lulled Emma into relief, maybe even sleep. But her nerves refused to rest. Every sound, the wipers, the heater's low whine, the driver's faint cough, felt too loud, too sharp. Her arms tightened protectively around Lily, who slept fitfully against her side. The book pulsed faintly in Emma's lap, concealed beneath her jacket. She kept one hand pressed firmly over it, as though if she let go, it might slither away on its own. The driver broke the silence. "So, where you headed?" Emma's throat was dry. For a moment, she couldn't remember. There had been a trip, plans, a highway detour. But Dunlow had blurred it all. "South," she said finally. It was vague enough to feel safe. The man nodded. "You picked a bad night to travel. Storm knocked trees down all over. Haven't seen rain like that in years." Emma swallowed. "Did you pass through a town back there? Dunlow?" The man frowned at her through the mirror. "Never heard of it." Her stomach twisted. She stared out the window, watching the woods slip by, each tree ordinary in a way that felt unreal. The whisper returned, curling inside her skull. "They never see, only you." Emma bit her tongue hard enough to taste blood, desperate to drown it out. But the words clung. The driver cleared his throat. "I can drop you at the next gas station. There's a diner too, if you need food. After a night like that, I bet you're both starving." Emma stiffened. The diner. The memory crashed over her, rusted stools, cracked vinyl, and the hollow man behind the counter, his milky eyes rolling in their sockets. The way his mouth had split open to unleash the chorus. Her pulse spiked. "No diners," she blurted. Too loud. Too sharp. The driver raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Lily stirred against her, mumbling in her sleep. "Mom!" Emma kissed her damp hair, whispering, "Shh. It's okay, baby. Just rest." But she didn't believe her own words. As the car sped down the highway, Emma saw a sign up ahead through the mist. Green letters gleaming faintly in the early morning light. Her breath caught. Next exit, Dunlow. Her blood ran cold. She blinked hard, and the sign was gone. Just trees, ordinary road, nothing more. But the book pulsed in her lap, warm and alive. You'll come back. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, willing the vision away. The sign hadn't been there. It couldn't have been. The driver hadn't reacted, hadn't slowed or turned his head. Maybe it was just her, just the book twisting her thoughts again. But she couldn't shake the weight in her chest, the sense that Dunlow had only let them go far enough to remind her it was still waiting. The driver hummed faintly, tapping his fingers on the wheel. So, you folks got family nearby? Somewhere safe to land? Emma's voice was a whisper. No. Just keep driving. He gave her another strange look in the mirror but said nothing more. The highway stretched on. For the first time in hours, the rain finally broke. Patches of dawn pushed through thinning clouds, streaks of orange painting the horizon. Lily stirred, rubbing her eyes, her little voice scratchy. Are we really out, Mom? Emma forced a smile, brushing damp strands of hair from her daughter's forehead. Yeah, baby. We're out. But her hand trembled as she said it. The driver exited toward a truck stop, pulling into a lot lined with gas pumps and the glow of vending machines. You sure you don't want to grab something hot? He asked, jerking a thumb toward the squat building beside the pumps. The sight made Emma's stomach twist. Neon letters flickered above the door, diner. Her breath caught. The sign was too familiar, the shape of the building too much like the one in Dunlow. No, she said quickly. We'll wait here. The driver frowned, muttering something about strange folks, but he left the engine idling as he went inside. Silence settled again. Lily sat up straighter, looking at her mother. You don't believe it's over, do you? Emma's throat closed. She wanted to protect her, to say yes, to tell her Dunlow was gone. But the warmth of the book burned through her jacket, a reminder of the truth. Her voice cracked. I don't know. Lily's gaze fell to Emma's lap. It's the book, isn't it? That's why it won't let us go. Emma stiffened. Don't even think about it. But Lily's words had already pulled the thought into the air, and as if on cue, the book pulsed harder. The symbols on its cover shimmered faintly, whispering promises Emma couldn't quite hear. She knows, she can speak too. Emma shoved it deeper under her jacket, gripping it so tight her nails dug into the leather. No, she hissed. Not her. Not ever. Lily's wide eyes shimmered with fear. She leaned against her mother again, whispering so softly Emma barely heard her. Then you'll have to carry it forever. Emma closed her eyes, heart sinking. Because she knew her daughter was right. Forever. The truck's stop lights buzzed faintly, throwing sickly halos onto the wet pavement. Emma sat stiff in the back seat, clutching the book under her jacket while Lily dozed against her shoulder. She tried to focus on the hum of the vending machines, on the distant murmur of truck engines idling in the lot, anything normal. But her mind replayed the words, forever. She shifted the book in her lap. Its warmth seemed stronger now, throbbing faintly with each beat of her heart. Sometimes she swore it shifted, like the leather itself was breathing. The driver returned, carrying a steaming paper cup. He glanced at them through the open door. Still don't want to go in? Emma shook her head quickly. He shrugged. Suit yourself. There's another town about 20 miles down. You'll be safe there. Safe. The words sounded hollow. The car pulled out of the lot, headlights sweeping across the darkened fields. The road unspooled before them, long and empty, but Emma couldn't shake the sense that Dunlow was just behind every mile marker, waiting for the moment she blinked. Her eyes burned with exhaustion. She leaned her head against the window, watching the blur of trees. That's when she saw it. Between the trunks, for only a second, a figure stood. Its pale face turned upward, its head tilted. Just watching the car pass. Emma jerked upright, heart racing. The driver glanced in the mirror. You okay back there? She forced herself to nod, though her pulse thundered. Maybe it was her imagination. Maybe the book was twisting the shadows. But then she saw another. And another. Shapes just off the shoulder of the road, half hidden in the mist, each one turning as the car passed. Silent. Waiting. Emma's nails dug into the leather cover of the book. Not her, she whispered fiercely, as if it could hear her. Not my daughter. You'll have me, but not her. The symbols across its surface shimmered faintly, almost mocking. You can't choose. Emma bit back a sob, holding Lily tighter. The headlights carved deeper into the night, but the forest shadows never emptied. The hollow ones were still there, pacing the car like wolves in the trees. The road might have taken her out of Dunlow, but Dunlow had followed. Emma's pulse thundered in her ears. She kept her eyes glued to the road ahead, but the forest pressed closer on both sides, thick with pale watchers. They didn't lunge or block the road. They only followed, keeping pace just beyond the tree line, their slack faces glistening faintly when the headlights swept across them. The driver muttered, oblivious. Strangest night I've had in years. Place feels empty out here, doesn't it? Emma gripped Lily tighter, forcing her voice steady. You don't see them? See vous? He gave a quick laugh. There's no one out here. Just you two. Her stomach turned. Of course. They were for her alone. Bound, the book whispered against her chest. Only you. Emma pressed her lips together, staring out the window. She couldn't let Lily know. Couldn't tell her the hollow ones would follow them wherever they went, that she would never again walk in daylight without shadows stretching too long behind her. Lily stirred. Mom? Emma stroked her hair. Should sleep, baby. We're safe now. But her voice trembled on the word safe. The truck stoplights had long since vanished behind them. Ahead, another green highway sign emerged from the fog. Emma's breath caught, every muscle tightening as her eyes locked on the letters. Next exit, Dunlow. Her throat constricted. No, she whispered. The driver leaned forward, squinting. Huh. Never heard of that town. Emma's hands went numb. Don't take it, she said sharply. Don't you dare take it. The man blinked in surprise. Relax, lady. I'm just driving straight through. But the book pulsed harder. Symbols writhed faintly under her jacket, and in her mind a chorus breathed in unison. You'll come back. All roads lead to us. Emma clutched it tighter, tears stinging her eyes. She wanted to scream, to fight, to burn the cursed thing to ash. But beneath the whispers, she felt something deeper, an endless pull, patient and certain. Dunlow wasn't chasing them. It was waiting. The driver turned up the radio, some tinny country station fading in and out with static. Ordinary music, ordinary chatter. It should have been comforting, but to Emma it sounded warped, like the voices were stretched thin over the hum of the hollow chorus. She stared at the glowing dial, wondering if the book was twisting even this. Not twisting, the whisper purred. Revealing. Her grip tightened until her knuckles whitened. She wanted to hurl the book out the window, to watch it tumble onto the wet asphalt and vanish beneath the truck's tires. But the thought alone made her chest seize, like invisible fingers clutching her heart. Bound! Emma shut her eyes, forcing her breathing steady. You won't have her, she thought fiercely. You'll rot with me first. Lily shifted beside her, curling against her arm. Her small voice broke the silence. Mom, when we get home, will it stop? Emma's throat ached. She kissed the top of her daughter's damp hair. Yes, baby. It'll stop. It was a lie. But she needed Lily to believe it. Headlights swept across another sign ahead. Emma's heart lurched. Exit 17, Dunlow. Her breath hitched. The same name. Again. She grabbed the driver's seat, panic flashing in her eyes. Keep straight. Don't turn off. He frowned, irritation creeping into his voice. I wasn't planning to. What's with you in this town? You don't understand, Emma whispered. We can't go back there. Ever. The man muttered something under his breath, but his hands stayed steady on the wheel. Emma sank back, trembling. Every exit, every mile marker, would they all lead there now? Would every road bend back to Dunlow no matter how far they fled? The book pulsed once, twice, steady as a second heartbeat. All roads, all doors, until the words are spoken again. Emma's chest hollowed. She realized then, it wasn't about escape. It never had been. The book wasn't meant to be carried away. It was meant to be carried forward. She stared into the misty road, rain streaking the glass. Lily slept, her tiny hand tangled in her mother's sleeve. And Emma knew the truth. The hollow ones weren't finished. They were waiting for the day her voice would falter, or Lily's would rise. The car rolled on, carrying them farther from Dunlow, but the weight in Emma's chest only grew heavier. Every mile marker blurred into the next. Every hiss of the tires sounded like whispers bleeding through the storm. The driver tried small talk once or twice, but Emma barely heard him. Her focus was fixed on Lily, her daughter's sleeping face soft in the glow of passing headlights. She brushed damp strands of hair away, her chest aching with fierce, desperate love. The book shifted faintly under her jacket. Not violently, just enough to remind her it was there. Breathing. Waiting. Forever, it whispered. Emma clenched her teeth. No. Not forever. Not for her. Her gaze fell to the floorboard. For a moment, she imagined cracking the door, tossing the book onto the highway, letting the rain and traffic shred it to nothing. But another thought followed, sharp and cold. What if it didn't stay there? What if some other traveler found it, a curious hand picking it up from the asphalt? Another family dragged into the nightmare. That was the curse, destroy herself, or condemn someone else. The driver pointed toward the horizon. Town coming up. Motel, food, the works. You'll be safe there. Emma's stomach turned at the word safe. She knew better now. No place was safe. Not with this thing in her arms. Still, Lily needed rest. She needed warmth, dry clothes, something resembling normal. Emma nodded faintly. We'll stop. The man gave her a quick smile and merged off the highway. Neon lights shimmered in the distance, glowing faintly through the mist. Signs for gas, motels, fast food chains. Ordinary life. But Emma's eyes snagged on one sign in particular. A small roadside diner, its flickering neon letters spelling out the word she dreaded most, eat. Her blood ran cold. The driver chuckled. Guess even out here, diners never die, huh? Emma's breath trembled. Her mind flashed with the hollow man behind the counter, his milky eyes rolling back, his mouth gaping wider than a human mouth should. No diners, she whispered, clutching Lily tighter. But the book pulsed once, symbols faintly glowing through her jacket, as if mocking her fear. We're already inside. Emma closed her eyes, shaking, because she knew the voice wasn't wrong. The town was small, just a scattering of gas stations, motels with flickering vacancy signs, and that cursed diner glowing faintly at the center like a beacon. The driver pulled into the lot of a weathered motel, gravel crunching under the tires. This is as far as I'm going, he said, glancing back at them in the mirror. Rooms here are cheap. You'll be all right. Emma forced a thank you, though her voice cracked. She nudged Lily gently. Wake up, baby. We're here. Lily rubbed her eyes, groggy but obedient, and slid out of the car. Emma followed, the book clutched tight beneath her jacket. The night air was cooler now, heavy with the scent of wet asphalt and rust. The driver gave a polite nod before pulling away. His taillights vanished into the mist, leaving Emma and Lily alone in the lot. For a moment, the quiet was overwhelming. No hollow voices, no pounding fists, no tolling bells. Just the drip of rain from the motel's sagging awning. Emma exhaled shakily, guiding Lily toward the office. A neon sign buzzed overhead, letters half burned out, OEL 7. The night clerk barely looked up when Emma paid for a room. His skin was sallow, eyes ringed with fatigue, but he moved with the slow indifference of someone who'd seen too many travelers. Room 4. Around the side. The key was heavy in Emma's hand, its brass tag dulled by years of use. She ushered Lily across the cracked pavement, past peeling doors. Number 4's paint flaked beneath her fingertips as she pushed it open. Inside, the room smelled of mildew and cigarette smoke. A faded bedspread sagged across the mattress. The hum of an old window unit filled the silence. It was nothing, it was everything, it was shelter. Lily climbed onto the bed immediately, curling up against the pillows. Emma pulled the blanket over her, stroking her damp hair. "Sleep, sweetheart. I'll be right here." Within minutes, Lily's breathing steadied, soft and deep. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, jacket pulled tight, the book burning faintly against her ribs. She stared at the peeling wallpaper, her body numb, her mind a storm. She should rest. She needed to. But when she closed her eyes, she saw them, the hollow faces watching from the trees, the priest's ruined smile, Mark's glassy eyes as he whispered hungry. The book pulsed again, whispering into the silence. "You carry us now. Dunlow is yours." Emma's lips trembled. She wanted to scream, to tear the book apart with her bare hands, but she knew it would do no good. She was bound. And as the motel lights flickered outside, she realized with bone-deep certainty. The hollow ones weren't finished. They had only begun to follow her into the world beyond. Emma sat in the dark, the motel's hum pressing against her ears. She hadn't bothered with the lamp. Light didn't keep the whispers away, nothing did. The book rested on the nightstand, though she hadn't wanted to put it down. Even now, it pulsed faintly, like it was breathing in rhythm with her daughter's sleep. Emma had to fight the urge to shove it into the drawer, into the bathroom sink, anywhere but here beside her. Yet something told her the book would only be closer when she turned back. A creak pulled her attention to the window. Emma froze. The curtains swayed, though the unit's weak air barely stirred the room. Slowly she stood, her pulse roaring in her ears. She parted the fabric an inch. Her stomach turned to ice. Beyond the glass, under the buzzing orange glow of the motel's lot light, a figure stood. Head tilted. Slack arms. Eyes blank. A hollow one. Emma staggered back, hand clamped over her mouth to stifle a scream. Her mind reeled. They can't be here, they can't be here. But when she dared another glance, more shapes had appeared. 3, 5, 10. They ringed the parking lot in silence, their pale bodies gleaming faintly in the wet night. Emma spun to Lily, still curled on the bed, breathing evenly. She couldn't wake her. Couldn't let her see them again. She grabbed the book, clutched it to her chest, and pressed herself against the wall, trembling. The figures didn't move closer. They only stood, watching, waiting. The book warmed in her arms, symbols shimmering faintly across its cover. The whisper came again, calm, certain. "They will follow, they will wait, until the words are spoken once more." Emma's breath hitched. She sank onto the floor, knees to her chest, rocking faintly. Tears streaked her cheeks. She had thought leaving Dunlow was survival. But there was no leaving it, not really. The town had uncoiled itself, spilling into the world through her. The hollow ones didn't need to hunt. They only had to wait. Emma must have dozed, because the next thing she remembered was the faint gray light of morning bleeding through the curtains. Her neck ached from where she had slumped against the wall, clutching the book to her chest. For one hopeful second, she thought it had been a nightmare. That maybe when she pulled back the curtain, the lot would be empty. But when she looked, they were still there. Dozens of them, standing silent in the pale daylight. Some stood in the gravel lot. Others lined the tree line beyond the motel fence. Their faces were slack, their heads tilted at that grotesque angle. Rain had washed them clean in the night, but they glistened as though they never dried. Emma pressed her hand to her mouth, stifling the sob that rose in her throat. From the bed, Lily stirred, rubbing her eyes. "Mom?" Emma spun, forcing calm into her voice. "Go back to sleep, baby." But Lily sat up, frowning. "They're here, aren't they?" Emma's chest clenched. She sat beside her, stroking her daughter's damp hair. "Don't look out the window." Lily leaned against her shoulder, small and trembling. "They won't leave us alone." The book pulsed faintly in Emma's lap, as if to confirm it. The motel phone rang. Emma nearly screamed, the shrill sound slicing through the silence. She stared at the receiver on the nightstand, her pulse hammering. No one should know they were here. It rang again. Her hand shook as she lifted it. Hello? At first, nothing but static. Then a voice, low, hollow, layered, slid through the line. You carry us, you feed us now. Emma's breath caught. No, she whispered. I won't. I'll find a way to end this. The voice chuckled faintly, though it carried no warmth. All roads lead to Dunlow, and Dunlow leads to you. The line went dead. Emma dropped the receiver, her hands shaking so badly it clattered against the nightstand. Outside, the hollow ones hadn't moved. They didn't need to. Because Dunlow wasn't waiting in the distance anymore. It was waiting inside her. Emma sat frozen with the dead phone still humming in her ears, the silence pressing against her like stone. Lily's small hand slid into hers. Mom, she whispered, what if they come inside? Emma forced her voice steady, though her insides felt hollowed out. They won't. Not while I'm here. But the truth twisted inside her. The hollow ones didn't need to break in. They only needed her to open the door through her thoughts, her voice, her fear. The book pulsed again on the nightstand, glowing faintly in the pale morning light. Emma stared at it, her jaw tight. If I could just destroy it, she thought. Burn it, drown it, anything. The whisper returned instantly. You can't, you are bound, we are you. Her hands clenched into fists. She wanted to scream, to rip the pages free, but she was terrified of what might pour out if she did. A knock rattled the motel door. Emma and Lily both flinched. The knock came again, slow, deliberate. Emma crept toward the door, heart hammering. Who is it? A pause. Then a man's voice, low and ragged. Emma. Her breath hitched. She knew that voice. Too well. Mark. Lily bolted upright in bed, eyes wide. Dad? Emma's chest collapsed inward. She turned, shaking her head violently. No. It's not him. But the voice came again, closer now, almost pleading. Emma, it's me. I'm back. Please let me in. Lily ran to the door before Emma could stop her. Tiny hands fumbled at the chain. Dad, I'm here. No. Emma lunged, snatching her daughter back. That's not your father. The door rattled violently. The hollow ones outside stirred, their heads snapping toward the sound in eerie unison. Mark's voice deepened, layered now, hollow. Emma, open the door. The book pulsed, symbols writhing across its cover. Let him in, finish what you began. Emma's nails dug into her palms. She held Lily tight, both of them shaking. The door shuddered again, harder this time. And Emma knew the truth in her bones. Dunlow had found its way here. It had followed her. And it wanted in. The door rattled under another blow, harder this time, the chain lock groaning against the frame. Lily buried her face in Emma's chest, sobbing. Mom, it's Dad! I heard him. Emma clutched her tighter. That's not him. It's not. Her voice cracked, but she forced the words out. Your dad's gone. The voice outside sharpened, rising above the storm of whispers. Emma, you made me this way. You left me. You can fix it. Just let me in. Her heart twisted. Every syllable carried Mark's tone, the cadence she knew, the weight of his voice. For a heartbeat she wanted, achingly, to believe. To fling the door open and see him whole again. To not be alone. But beneath it, she heard the layers, the hollow chorus bending his words, warping them, feeding them into her ears like poison. The book pulsed hotter on the nightstand, symbols glowing red. Let him in, bind yourselves, and we will be whole again. Emma staggered back, shaking her head violently. No. You don't get him. You don't get us. The door slammed once more, harder than before. Wood cracked, the chain tearing free from its screws. Emma grabbed the book with one hand and Lily's arm with the other. We have to go. Now! She shoved open the bathroom door, heart pounding. A small frosted window sat above the tub, streaked with grime. It was barely large enough, but it was their only chance. Emma boosted Lily up, shoving her through as the motel door burst inward behind them. Mark's silhouette filled the doorway. His body was wrong, limbs too long, head tilted, eyes glowing faintly through the gloom. His smile spread wide, wider than human skin should allow. Emma! Emma's blood froze. She scrambled up after Lily, glass tearing her palms as she forced herself through the narrow frame. She dropped into the wet gravel outside, gasping, the book clutched to her chest. Lily grabbed her hand. Run! They sprinted across the lot. The hollow ones stood waiting in perfect rows, silent, watching. None moved to stop them. Not yet. Behind them, Mark's voice bellowed through the shattered motel door. You can't run. You carry us. The hollow ones echoed him, their chorus rising with the morning light. You carry us, you carry us. Emma dragged Lily into the mist, every step heavier, the book burning against her ribs. She knew now there was no escape. Not from Dunlow. Not from the hollow ones. The mist thickened as Emma and Lily fled the motel, the world shrinking to a blur of gray and shadow. Their footsteps splashed through puddles, breath sharp and ragged in the cold morning air. Emma didn't dare look back, though Mark's voice still carried, stretched and hollow, echoing far longer than any human throat could sustain. You carry us, come home. The book pulsed with every word, hot against her ribs. Emma wanted to hurl it into the fog, but her arms locked tighter around it instead, as though the thing had burrowed into her muscles, her bones. Lily stumbled, and Emma yanked her upright. Keep going, baby. Just a little farther. Where are we going? Lily's voice cracked, thin with exhaustion. Emma opened her mouth, but no answer came. Every road bent back to Dunlow. Every sign whispered its name. There was nowhere left. The mist shifted. Shapes emerged ahead, dark silhouettes stretching across the road. Emma's stomach dropped. She slowed, pulling Lily behind her. At first she thought they were more hollow ones, waiting. But as the fog thinned, she saw they weren't moving. A row of figures hung from the trees. Bodies swayed in the breeze, rain dripping from their slack hands. Ropes creaked faintly where they dug into swollen necks. Their faces were blurred by shadow, yet Emma knew they were watching. Lily gasped, clinging tighter. Mom! Emma forced her legs forward, each step shaking. The bodies swung slowly as she passed beneath them, their eyeless sockets fixed on her. The whispers returned, softer now, almost reverent. They carried us before you, you will carry us after. Emma bit down a sob. She realized with icy clarity these were not strangers. They were others who had fled Dunlow, trapped like she was, bound to the book until it consumed them. Lily tugged her sleeve. Mom, will that happen to us? Emma stopped. Her body trembled, rain running into her eyes. She wanted to lie, to tell Lily no. But the words stuck in her throat. The book pulsed harder, as if savoring her silence. Soon. Emma squeezed her daughter's hand, forcing her voice through the weight in her chest. I won't let it. Do you hear me? I'll never let it. But as they left the swaying bodies behind, the mist whispered back. All roads, all ends lead to Dunlow. Emma's legs burned, her lungs raw with every breath, but she kept pulling Lily forward through the mist. The forest thinned, giving way to another stretch of road. For a heartbeat, it looked like any other, cracked asphalt, guardrails bent by time, dawn light bleeding across the horizon. Her chest swelled with fragile hope. Maybe this time it's real. Maybe this is the way out. Then she saw it. A green sign loomed through the fog. Welcome to Dunlow. Founded 1873. Emma stumbled to her knees, dragging Lily down with her. A strangled cry tore from her throat. No, no, not again. Lily clutched her arm, sobbing. Mom, it won't let us go. It won't let us. Emma's tears mingled with the rain. She wanted to collapse, to surrender, to curl around her daughter and give up. But the book pulsed hot in her arms, reminding her she didn't have that choice. Bound, it whispered. Until the end. The mist stirred. Figures emerged from the edges of the road, pale and silent, their heads tilting in perfect unison. The hollow ones stepped forward, forming rows on either side of the sign like a congregation waiting for its sermon. Emma staggered upright, clutching Lily with one arm and the book with the other. Her voice broke against the silence. "What do you want from me?" The hollow ones answered as one. "Speak!" Emma shook her head violently. "No. Not again. I won't." The book seared her palm, hotter, harder, symbols writhing across its cover. "Speak!" Lily's tiny hands clutched her sleeve. "Mom, don't. Please don't." Emma looked down at her daughter, her only anchor, her only reason to keep standing, and then back at the hollow congregation. Their mouths opened wide, stretching too far, a soundless demand filling the air. Her chest heaved. She knew if she spoke, Dunlow would awaken fully again. The priest, the bell, the endless cycle. But if she didn't, she feared they would take Lily instead. She pressed the book against her chest, trembling, her voice cracking under the weight of choice. "Not her," she whispered. "If you want someone, take me." The hollow ones leaned closer, their chorus sighing through the mist. "You are already ours." And the lanterns above the sign flickered back to life. The lanterns buzzed and sputtered, their yellow glow bleeding through the mist. Emma shielded Lily behind her, though her own legs trembled under the weight of the hollow one's gaze. Their mouths hung open, but no sound came now. Only the book pulsed, hot, insistent, as if it beat in rhythm with the lanterns themselves. "Speak!" the whisper threaded into her mind. "Finish what was begun." Emma shook her head violently. "No. I won't." The hollow ones swayed as one, heads tilting, their bodies leaning forward with the slightest jerk. The air thickened, pressing on her chest, making every breath shallow. Lily's voice cracked behind her. "Mom, they're going to make you." Emma clutched the book tighter, teeth gritted. "Not if I don't let them." But even as she said it, the cover writhed under her fingers, the symbols glowing brighter, rearranging faster. The book didn't need her consent. It only needed her weakness. The sign loomed above them, wetwood creaking. Emma's eyes darted up. "Welcome to Dunlow. Founded 1873. She realized with sickening clarity that the sign wasn't just a marker. It was a threshold. Every time they reached it, the town reset itself. Every time, the book demanded more. The hollow ones stepped closer. Their feet splashed into the road, pale bodies gleaming faintly. The congregation was closing in. Emma's knees buckled. She fell to the wet asphalt, the book pressed against her chest. Tears streaked her face. "What do you want me to say?" she sobbed. The whisper slid through her skull, calm and patient. "Say the words, open the door again, let us through." Lily grabbed her arm, desperate. "Don't do it, Mom! Don't listen to them!" Emma's heart shattered. She looked into her daughter's terrified eyes and knew she couldn't. She wouldn't. With a ragged scream, she hurled the book at the sign. The leather hit the wood with a crack like thunder. The lanterns flared white-hot, symbols blazing across the book's cover as it fused to the sign itself. The hollow ones froze. Their mouths stretched wider than ever, but no sound came. The mist churned violently, curling upward as though the town itself was gasping. Emma pulled Lily into her arms, both of them trembling, as the welcome to Dunlow's sign split down the middle. The book sank into its core, glowing brighter, brighter, until with a deafening crack, the lanterns exploded and the light died. Silence. The hollow ones were gone. The sign was gone. The road stretched forward into empty woods, straight and clear. Emma's breath shook as she clutched Lily. "We did it," she whispered. "It's over." But in the silence, a faint whisper curled through her mind. "We are patient." The road lay empty ahead, washed clean by the rain. For the first time, there was no sign, no lanterns, no mist curling to herd them back. Just blacktop stretching into the forest, the pale light of morning softening the trees. Emma's chest heaved. She could barely believe it. No hollow ones, no whispers but her own ragged breath. Lily clung to her side, face buried in her mother's jacket. "It's over," Emma murmured again, though her throat was raw. She kissed the top of Lily's head. "We're free, baby. We're free." But the words felt fragile. Too fragile. They walked until Emma's legs nearly gave out. Finally, she saw a roadside bench by a cracked bus shelter, its glass smeared with moss, but solid. She collapsed onto it with Lily in her lap, arms wrapped tight around her daughter. For a while, there was only quiet. Birds stirred faintly in the distance, their songs hesitant after the storm. The world felt real again. And yet Emma couldn't shake the hollow ache in her chest, as though something had been scooped out and left empty. Her hands drifted to her jacket, instinctively reaching for the book. It wasn't there. Her breath caught. She remembered hurling it into the sign, the explosion of light, the wood splitting. She had believed it gone, destroyed. But the absence didn't feel like relief. It felt wrong. Like forgetting something vital, like losing a piece of herself she hadn't wanted to keep but couldn't survive without. Her palms itched. Her ears rang. And deep inside her skull, faint as a memory, a whisper stirred. "You carry us still." Emma pressed her hands to her ears, rocking forward. "No. No, you're gone. You're gone." Lily stirred, lifting her tired eyes. "Mom?" Emma forced a smile, though it trembled. "I'm okay, sweetheart. Just tired." But she knew it wasn't true. She could feel it in the hollow spaces inside her. The book was gone, but not gone. Dunlow had sunk its claws deeper than leather and ink. The curse wasn't in the book anymore. It was in her. And as the morning sun broke fully across the road, Emma knew the hollow ones would wait, whether in shadows, in dreams, or in her own thoughts, until she spoke the words again. And one day she would. Emma forced herself to breathe evenly, rocking Lily gently until her daughter drifted into an uneasy sleep against her lap. The road stretched silent and empty, sunlight flickering through the dripping leaves. It should have been peaceful. It should have been the first real morning since the storm began. But Emma couldn't escape the gnawing certainty inside her. The hollow ones hadn't vanished. They were simply waiting, woven into her thoughts, hiding behind the quiet. She closed her eyes, exhaustion pulling at her. And in that fragile space between waking and sleep, she heard them. "Emma!" The voice was Mark's again, low and tender. So close she could almost feel his breath against her ear. Her chest clenched. She wanted to shut it out, but the sound pressed deeper. "You freed us, you carry us now." Emma's eyes snapped open. The woods were still. Lily's breath was steady against her chest. But when she glanced across the road, her blood turned to ice. In the shadows between the trees, dozens of pale faces peered back. Not moving, not advancing, just watching, their heads tilted, waiting for her to speak. Emma's pulse hammered. She looked away, clenching her jaw until it ached. "No. I won't give you what you want." The faces didn't fade. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, warming the damp air, but still they watched. Silent. Patient. By the time a distant rumble of an approaching bus broke the stillness, Emma's hands shook from holding herself together. The vehicle pulled into the cracked shelter, brakes squealing. Its doors opened with a hiss. The driver leaned out, blinking at her. "You two need a lift?" Emma looked down at Lily, then back at the waiting figures in the woods. Their eyes gleamed faintly in the sun, heads tilted in unison. Her throat tightened. She whispered to herself, more prayer than answer. "Not her. Never her." Emma lifted Lily gently into her arms and boarded the bus. The doors hissed shut, the engine roared, and the road stretched ahead once more. But in the reflection of the bus window, Emma still saw them, rows of hollow faces keeping pace with the trees, their mouths curved in silent smiles. And in her head, the whisper returned, patient and certain. "All roads lead to Dunlow." The bus rattled along the highway, every bump sending vibrations through the thin metal frame. Emma sat near the back, Lily curled against her shoulder, finally asleep again. She stroked her daughter's hair absently, her eyes fixed on the passing trees outside the window. For anyone else, it might have looked like an ordinary morning, mist burning off, sunlight warming the asphalt, birds darting between branches. But Emma saw them still. Pale faces flickering in the shadows, heads cocked at that terrible angle. Sometimes a hand pressed against the trunk, sometimes a shimmer of eyes that vanished when the sun hit. Always watching. Always waiting. She forced herself to look away, down the narrow aisle of the bus. A handful of other passengers sat scattered across the seats. An old man in a cap staring out the window. A young woman thumbing through her phone. A mother rocking a baby at the front. None of them seemed to notice anything strange. Emma's stomach nodded. Was she the only one cursed to see? Or would they see too, eventually, if they sat too close to her? The book's absence gnawed at her like phantom pain. She could still feel it pressing against her chest, even though she'd thrown it into the sign. The whispers hadn't faded, they'd only moved deeper, settling inside her bones. Bound, they breathed, as faint as her own heartbeat. Forever bound. Emma clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms. She mouthed words silently, desperate. Not me. Not her. You can't have her. But the reflection in the bus window betrayed her. The glass warped the image, stretching her face, hollowing her eyes, tilting her head just slightly. For an instant, she looked like one of them. Her breath caught. She slammed her eyes shut, shaking her head violently. When she opened them again, her reflection was normal, tired, pale, human. But the whisper came anyway. Already ours? The bus jolted over a pothole. Lily stirred, whimpering in her sleep, but didn't wake. Emma kissed her temple, whispering fiercely, I'll keep you safe. I swear it. The bus rolled on, carrying them away from Dunlow. But Emma knew the truth. She hadn't left the town behind. She was carrying it with her. The bus wound through the countryside, each mile stretching farther from the nightmare Emma prayed she'd left behind. She kept her gaze fixed on Lily, watching her chest rise and fall, the innocence of sleep soothing for a heartbeat at a time. But the windows betrayed her again. When the glass caught the trees at the right angle, she saw them, hollow figures pacing the bus, their pale faces glimpsed between trunks, their heads cocked like carrion birds. No one else reacted. The old man kept staring ahead, the young woman scrolled on her phone, the mother hummed softly to her baby. Emma pressed her forehead to the cool glass, whispering through clenched teeth. You can't have them. Not her. Not anyone else. The reply coiled through her mind, calm and patient. You carry us, you feed us. The bus slowed, hissing to a stop at a small town depot. A few passengers rose, gathering bags. Emma tensed, clutching Lily tighter. She considered staying on, riding until the end of the line, but the thought chilled her. What if every line ends at Dunlow? A new passenger boarded. A man in his 30s, damp from the rain. He nodded politely to the driver and shuffled down the aisle, his eyes scanning for a seat. Emma's breath caught. For a split second, his head tilted, not in greeting, but in that awful, unnatural angle. His eyes caught hers, clouded white just for a heartbeat before clearing. He smiled faintly and sat 2 rows ahead. Emma's stomach lurched. Her fingers dug into Lily's shoulder. Did I imagine it? Or is it starting already? She looked at the other passengers. Ordinary faces. Ordinary exhaustion. But her mind twisted with doubt. Any of them could change at any moment. Any of them could tilt their heads, open their mouths, and let that hollow chorus pour out. She shut her eyes, whispering a prayer she didn't believe in. The bus rumbled back onto the highway. In her lap, Lily stirred, mumbling softly in her sleep. Mom, we're not out yet. Emma froze. Her heart hammered. She hadn't said a word. The whisper slithered back, deeper than before. She dreams with us now. Emma pulled her daughter tighter, tears burning her eyes. Dunlow hadn't just followed her. It was inside Lily, too. Emma's blood turned to ice. She stared down at Lily, who still slept in her lap, her small fists curled against her chest. Her daughter's face looked peaceful, innocent, but the words she murmured were burned into Emma's mind. She dreams with us now. Emma's hands trembled. She shook Lily gently. Sweetheart, Wake up! Lily stirred, blinking groggily. Mom? Emma brushed damp hair from her daughter's forehead, her voice breaking. What did you just dream about? Lily frowned, confused. I don't know. A place with houses. It was raining. There was a bell. Emma's heart clenched so tight she thought she might faint. Done low. It was already inside her. No, Emma whispered, rocking her daughter against her chest. No, not you. Lily blinked up at her, sleepy and scared. Mom, what's wrong? Emma swallowed her panic, forcing a trembling smile. Nothing, baby. Go back to sleep. But her insides screamed. Every moment they stayed, the hollow ones were seeping deeper into Lily, dragging her into the same curse. Emma clenched her fists until her nails dug into her palms. She couldn't let it happen. The bus engine droned on. The countryside blurred past. And yet, when Emma glanced at the window again, she saw it. A green sign, smeared by rain. Next exit, Dunlow. Her chest collapsed. No. Not again. Not when she's with me. The man who had boarded earlier shifted in his seat, his head tilting slightly, as if he'd been waiting for her to notice. Emma's breath caught. She looked at the other passengers, normal, oblivious, but she no longer trusted her own eyes. Were they all sleepers now, carrying fragments of Dunlow in their dreams? The book's absence throbbed like phantom pain in her chest. Its whispers bled into her mind again, stronger this time, more insistent. You can't save her. Only bind her to us. Emma pressed her face into Lily's hair, shaking. No. I won't let you take her. But in the glass, the hollow figures still paced the bus through the trees, smiling with mouths too wide. And their chorus slid through the hum of the engine, soft and inevitable. All roads lead home. Emma's grip on Lily tightened until the girl squirmed. She loosened her arms quickly, stroking her daughter's hair to soothe her, though her own hands shook. The road unspooled endlessly, the bus rattling forward, but Emma's heart whispered what the signs had already shown her. Every mile only carried them back to Dunlow. She forced her eyes open, scanning the passengers. The old man in the cab had dozed off, chin on his chest. The young woman scrolled her phone, earbuds tucked in. The mother rocked her baby at the front, her lullaby faint under the engine's hum. Ordinary. They all looked ordinary. But she knew better. The man who had boarded last sat 2 rows ahead, shoulders stiff. His head tilted slightly, just slightly, toward the window, as though listening to something beyond the bus. His reflection in the glass was worse. His eyes glowed faintly pale, and his lips moved silently, as if whispering along with the road's song. Emma's nails dug into the seat. Not here. Not with her beside me. She stood abruptly, clutching Lily's hand. Come on, baby. We're getting off. The driver glanced at her in the mirror. Next stop's 5 miles out. Stop now. Her voice cracked, raw and desperate. Please. The driver hesitated, muttering about rules, but Emma's wild eyes silenced him. With a sigh, he pulled to the shoulder, brakes squealing. The bus slowed, doors hissing open into the mist. Emma pulled Lily down the steps, heart hammering. Her shoes splashed into shallow puddles. The road stretched ahead, empty, framed by thick woods. She didn't care. Anywhere was safer than being trapped in that metal box with Dunlow's whispers infecting the passengers. The bus pulled away, its red taillights fading into the fog. For a moment, silence. Then Lily tugged her sleeve, voice trembling. Mom, look! Emma turned. The woods on either side of the road were filled with faces. Pale, hollow, tilting. Watching. And when the wind shifted, she heard it again, soft, endless, patient. Home, home, home! Emma's legs trembled as she pulled Lily closer. The road stretched straight ahead, black and slick, but both sides were crowded with hollow figures. They didn't move, didn't step into her path, but their blank eyes and slack mouths pinned her in place as surely as chains. Their heads twitched in unison, that grotesque tilt that made Emma's stomach twist. She forced her feet forward. One step. Then another. Lily clung to her side, every small breath hitching with fear. "Don't look at them," Emma whispered. "Eyes on the road." But even as she said it, she felt their gaze burrowing into her skull. It wasn't just watching, it was searching, peeling her open thought by thought. "Speak!" they whispered in unison, though their mouths never moved. Emma's chest tightened. "No!" Her voice was so small it nearly drowned in the mist. But the hollow ones heard. Their chorus swelled, rolling like a tide across the woods. "Speak, speak! Speak!" Lily whimpered. "Mom, they want you to say it." Emma's throat closed. "I won't." The figures swayed, jerking closer by inches, their limbs loose, puppet-like. Their mouths opened wider now, stretching as if they would tear at the corners. Emma stumbled back, clutching Lily. "Stay behind me!" She looked down the road, desperate for escape, and froze. A green highway sign stood ahead, glistening with rain. "Welcome to Dunlow. Founded 1873. "No," Emma breathed. Her knees nearly buckled. They had walked less than a mile, yet the town had found them again. The hollow ones advanced, their steps still slow but certain. The chorus thundered in her skull. "Home, home, home!" Lily's sobs split the air. "We can't get away, Mom! We can't!" Emma clutched her daughter's face, forcing her eyes up. "Listen to me. We're not giving in. Do you hear me? Not you. Never you." But as she said it, the road bent. The sign shimmered, splitting into two. One read "Welcome to Dunlow." The other, jagged and wrong, read "Speak, Emma." And beyond both, the mist churned like an open mouth, waiting. Emma's nails bit into her palms as she whispered, "Then I'll make my own road." She stepped off the asphalt into the wet woods. The hollow ones turned to follow. Branches clawed at Emma's arms as she pushed through the drenched undergrowth, dragging Lily behind her. Mud sucked at their shoes, pulling, trying to root them in place, but Emma forced them forward. Anything was better than the road. Anything was better than that sign. The forest swallowed them quickly. Mist curled low around the roots, twisting up between trunks. The air smelled of moss and rot, sharp enough to sting Emma's throat. She stumbled over a fallen log, catching herself on one hand, the phantom ache of the book burning in her palm. Behind them, the chorus thickened. "Home, home, home!" Emma risked a glance back. The hollow ones were slipping between the trees, pale shapes gliding without sound. Their limbs bent unnaturally as they pressed through the branches, heads still tilted, eyes fixed on her. No snapping twigs, no labored breaths, just silence broken by that endless word. Lily's voice trembled. "Mom, they're not slowing down." Emma's chest burned. "Keep moving. Don't stop." They scrambled through brush until the forest opened into a clearing. In its center stood a cabin, weathered wood sagging, roof patched with rusted tin, its single window black with grime. Smoke curled faintly from a crooked chimney, as if someone, or something, still lived there. Emma froze, chest heaving. "No, it can't be!" Lily tugged her arm. "Mom? What is it?" Emma's stomach turned. She had seen this place before. In the visions the book had forced into her skull, in the pages that writhed and shifted until her eyes bled. This cabin had always been waiting at the edges, a shadow she'd prayed would never become real. The hollow ones pressed closer, their pale bodies filling the clearing's edges. "Inside," they breathed. "Inside." Emma's legs shook. If she ran, the hollow ones would drag her down. If she entered, she'd be stepping into the very heart of the nightmare. Lily looked up at her with wide, terrified eyes. "Mom, what do we do?" Emma stared at the cabin door. Its frame sagged, but the wood looked solid, heavy, like a mouth clamped shut. She felt the choice pressing down, squeezing her chest. She whispered, "We go where they don't want us to survive." Trembling, she reached for the door handle. The wood creaked open at her touch. And from the darkness inside came a whisper she knew too well. "Welcome home." The smell hit first, damp earth, rot, and the acrid tang of old smoke. Emma pulled Lily inside, slamming the warped door shut behind them. The clearing went silent, the hollow ones pressing just beyond the walls. Their whispers seeped through the cracks like smoke, but they didn't follow. Not yet. The cabin's interior was worse than Emma feared. Dust blanketed every surface, disturbed only by long, dragging streaks across the floorboards, as though something had been hauled. Cobwebs veiled the corners, clinging in thick ropes. A single chair sat near the fireplace, its cushions sunken, fabric stiff with mildew. But what froze Emma's breath was the desk. It stood against the far wall, battered wood scarred with deep carvings. Pages, hundreds of them, were scattered across its surface, each smeared with the same writhing symbols that had covered the book. The language of Dunlow, etched into paper with desperate hands. Emma's chest clenched. She stepped closer, hard hammering. The carvings in the desk spelled out a single phrase over and over. All roads lead back. Lily clutched her hand, whispering, "Mom, someone lived here." Emma nodded, throat tight. Or they tried to. A floorboard groaned above them. Emma jerked her head up. The ceiling sagged, beams warped with rot, but the sound was unmistakable. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. "Mom," Lily whimpered. "We're not alone." Emma pulled her close, eyes darting to the narrow staircase in the corner. Shadows pulled at its base, thick and unnatural. The air carried a faint vibration, as though the hollow chorus had found its voice inside these walls. The whisper came again, but not from outside. From the staircase. "Speak!" Emma's knees weakened. It was the same demand, the same endless cycle. Speak the words, open the door, feed the town. But this time, she felt something else layered beneath it, a faint, human cry. A voice muffled under the weight of the hollow ones. "Help!" Emma's stomach dropped. It wasn't the chorus. It was someone trapped. She turned to Lily, her voice low, urgent. "Stay here. Don't move." Lily shook her head violently. "No, I'm not leaving you." The footsteps creaked again above, closer now. Emma tightened her grip on her daughter's shoulders, whispering through gritted teeth. "If something happens, you run. Do you understand?" Lily's eyes brimmed with tears, but she nodded. Emma turned toward the staircase, every step heavy as stone. And with each groan of the wood, the whispers grew louder, overlapping until her skull throbbed. "Speak! Help! Hungry! Home!" She placed her hand on the rail and began to climb. Each step up the narrow staircase screamed with rot, the wood threatening to splinter under Emma's weight. She gripped the rail with a trembling hand, her other pressed against her chest as if she could quiet the hollow throb in her bones. Lily crouched below, her wide eyes fixed on her mother, too afraid to cry out. The air thickened with every step. The whispers tangled together, pressing against her ears until they became a single shuddering vibration. "Speak! Speak! Speak!" Halfway up, Emma froze. A shape loomed in the shadows above, hunched and still. Her breath caught. "Who's there?" The figure shifted, joints cracking. Then, in a voice hoarse and broken, it rasped, "Emma!" Her chest collapsed inward. For a heartbeat, it was Mark's voice again, trembling with the weight of memory. Her knees buckled, but she forced herself higher, step by step, until her head cleared the landing. What she saw wrenched a sob from her throat. A man sat slumped against the far wall, wrists bound by ropes that had cut into his skin long ago. His face was hollow, cheeks sunken, but his eyes, milky and glazed, snapped to hers with startling clarity. "It doesn't end," he whispered. "The book, it always finds someone." Emma staggered back. "Who are you?" The man's lips trembled. "Last time, it was me. I thought I could carry it. Thought I could bury it here. But the words, they don't stay quiet." His head jerked violently, as if something inside was tugging. "Don't let the girl speak them. Whatever happens, don't let her." Emma's blood ran cold. Below, Lily whimpered, "Mom?" The man's gaze snapped toward the sound, and his body convulsed, ropes snapping like threads. He rose in jerks, mouth stretching unnaturally wide. The milky glaze over his eyes burned faintly red. The chorus thundered through the cabin. Hungry, hungry, hungry! Emma's heart slammed against her ribs. She stumbled backward, hand gripping the banister. The man, no, the hollow thing he had become, lurched toward her, his voice layered with the chorus. You'll give her to us! Emma screamed, racing down the stairs as the creature's steps thundered behind her. Lily bolted into her arms just as the upper landing splintered, the hollow man crashing down in a tangle of limbs and dust. The whispers howled, and Emma realized the cabin itself was no refuge. It was another door. The cabin shuddered as the hollow man rose from the debris, limbs bending at grotesque angles before snapping back into place. His jaw hung loose, teeth grinding as the chorus spilled from him, rattling the walls. Emma clutched Lily, dragging her toward the door. We're leaving! But the frame slammed shut before she could touch it, wood splintering as if invisible hands had seized it. The whispers rose to a fever pitch, vibrating through the floorboards. Dust rained from the rafters. No escape, inside, speak! The hollow man lurched closer, his eyes glowing faint red through the milky haze. Emma grabbed a rusted poker from the fireplace and swung wildly, the iron connecting with a wet crack against his shoulder. The blow sent him staggering, but no cry escaped, only laughter. A hollow, layered cackle that seeped into Emma's bones. Lily screamed, clinging to Emma's waist. The desk at the far wall rattled. Pages scattered upward as if caught in a wind that came from nowhere. Symbols twisted across them, glowing faintly, arranging themselves into lines that Emma could almost read. The cabin thrummed like a living thing demanding. The hollow man snarled, lunging again. Emma shoved Lily behind her and thrust the poker forward, jamming it into his chest. Black tar seeped out, thick and reeking, but he only leaned closer, grinning with teeth too many for his mouth. Give us the child! Emma's hands shook. No. You can have me, but not her! The chorus roared, shaking the cabin. The carvings in the desk flared, and a single phrase etched itself across the wood, fresh and jagged. She must speak. Emma's stomach turned cold. She looked back at Lily, who stood frozen in terror, eyes wide. The whispers weren't just in Emma's head anymore. They were seeping into her daughter, tugging at her small lips, urging them open. No! Emma shrieked. She dropped the poker and clamped her hands over Lily's mouth. Don't listen! Don't say anything! The hollow man leaned close, tar dripping from his mouth as he whispered with the voice of the town itself. She already has. And Emma's blood went cold. Emma froze, her hands pressed desperately against Lily's trembling mouth. The hollow man's words echoed in her skull. She already has. No, Emma gasped. She hasn't. She hasn't! But the cabin answered for her. The walls groaned, beams creaking as symbols etched themselves across the wood in glowing, jagged lines. The words Lily had spoken in her dreams, the fragments she'd whispered half asleep, were scrawled everywhere now, bleeding light into the room. Lily sobbed against her mother's palms, eyes wide with terror. Emma's chest constricted. You didn't mean it, she whispered frantically. You didn't know. They can't take you for dreaming. The hollow man tilted his head, the grin splitting his face wider, tar dribbling from the corners. Dunlow doesn't care what's dreamt and what's said. Words open doors. And the child is the key. The chorus thundered, louder than ever. Speak, speak, speak! Emma's arms locked around Lily, pulling her tight. Then take me instead! The hollow man lurched forward, tar pooling at his feet, his voice layered and endless. We already have you. You carry us. But her. His glowing eyes snapped to Lily. She will carry us farther. Emma screamed, grabbing the fireplace poker again. She swung with everything she had, smashing it into the hollow man's head. Bone cracked, tar spraying across the floor, but the creature didn't fall. It only laughed, jaw dangling by shreds of flesh. The desk erupted. Pages burst into flame without heat, symbols whirling in the air like fireflies. They swarmed toward Lily, circling her, whispering her name in 100 overlapping voices. Emma dropped the poker and wrapped herself around her daughter. "Don't look! Don't listen!" But Lily's small voice trembled through Emma's grip. "Mom, it's in my head. It's telling me what to say." Emma's heart shattered. She rocked her daughter violently, desperate to shake the whispers free. "Fight it, baby! You're stronger than them! Don't give them your voice!" The hollow man lunged again, but this time Emma didn't swing. She thrust herself backward with Lily in her arms, slamming into the desk. Pages scattered, light searing her vision. For a moment, the chorus faltered, cracking into chaos. Emma clutched Lily tighter, screaming into the storm of voices. "You can't have her!" But in the silence that followed, the cabin itself whispered back, ancient and certain. "She is already ours." The cabin walls shuddered, beams bowing inward as if the structure itself were breathing. Dust rained from the ceiling, stinging Emma's eyes. She pressed Lily against her chest, desperate to block out the glowing words etched across every surface. The hollow man staggered upright, tar dripping from his jaw. His voice split into 2, then 3, until it was a cacophony of overlapping tones. "She is ours." She spoke. She opened the door. Emma's throat burned as she screamed back. "She's just a child." The desk cracked down the middle, splitting wide. Inside the cavity, a book identical to the one Emma had hurled into the Dunlow sign lay waiting, its cover pulsing faintly, symbols writhing across its skin like veins. Emma's blood froze. It hadn't been destroyed. It had only been waiting here. The hollow man's glowing eyes widened, his grin stretching impossibly wide. "It always finds the next carrier. You held it once. Now it's hers." "No," Emma snarled. She lunged for the book, seizing it before the creature could. The leather burned her palms, searing like hot iron, but she clutched it tighter. The hollow ones outside pressed against the cabin walls, their whispers vibrating through the wood. "Home, home, home!" Emma's vision blurred. The symbols on the book shifted, rearranging into lines of text that pulsed brighter with each heartbeat. Words clawed at her throat, begging to be spoken, forcing her lips to part. But Lily's small hand clutched her sleeve, her voice trembling. "Don't, Mom! Don't say them!" Emma's tears spilled hot down her cheeks. She pressed her forehead against her daughter's, whispering, "Then help me fight them! Don't let them use us!" The hollow man shrieked, lunging. Emma swung the book itself, slamming it into his chest. The symbols flared, burning into his flesh, and he convulsed, tar erupting in a spray. The chorus faltered, shrieking in dissonance. Emma screamed the only words she had left, her own. "You will never have her!" The cabin shook violently. Cracks split the floorboards. The desk collapsed, scattering flaming pages across the room. The hollow man writhed, collapsing into a pool of tar. His voice fractured into 1,000 pieces before shattering into silence. And then the cabin went still. Emma collapsed to her knees, clutching Lily and the book. The silence was worse than the whispers, heavy and suffocating. Lily's tiny voice broke it. "Mom, did we win?" Emma stared at the pulsing book in her hands, her tears blurring the symbols that already began to shift again. She whispered, broken, "I don't think there's such a thing." Emma staggered to her feet, clutching Lily with one arm and the cursed book with the other. The cabin was collapsing in on itself, beams groaning, floorboards splitting as if the house had been nothing but skin stretched over the body of something buried beneath. She pushed toward the door, but when she yanked it open, the clearing outside wasn't there. Instead, she stood at the edge of Dunlow's main street. The diner squatted in the distance, neon sign flickering. The church loomed, its bell tolling once, a low, broken note that rattled her bones. Every building was in place, every window lit with sickly yellow light. The whole town had swallowed the cabin whole. Emma's breath hitched. "No. No, this isn't real. We left you." Lily clung to her, shaking. "Mom, it's the same." The hollow ones filled the street, lining the sidewalks like a congregation awaiting their preacher. Their mouths opened in unison, but no words came. Only silence stretched, heavy and endless, pressing down on Emma until she thought her chest would collapse. The book throbbed in her arms. Symbols writhed, demanding, "Speak, speak, speak." Emma's voice cracked as she shouted into the silence. "You can't have her! Take me!" The hollow ones tilted their heads, mouths opening wider. Then, as one, they raised their arms and pointed, not at Emma, at Lily. Emma's stomach turned to stone. "No! She's a child!" The church bell tolled again, louder, shuddering the ground. The door to the steeple groaned open. A figure emerged. The priest. His ruined robes dragged in the mud, his face more decayed than before, bones shining through rotten flesh. His eyeless sockets glowed faintly red as he raised one skeletal hand toward them. The hollow ones echoed him in a single voice that filled every crack of Emma's skull. "She must speak!" Emma clutched Lily tighter, shaking violently. "You'll never have her!" The book pulsed, burning her arms, whispering back. "She already belongs to us." The priest's grin split wider, teeth blackened. He extended his hand farther, and the crowd of hollow ones began to chant. "Speak! Speak! Speak!" Emma staggered backward, clutching Lily as if her grip alone could anchor her against the weight of Dunlow's will. But when she looked into her daughter's eyes, her blood froze. Lily's lips were moving. Emma's heart stopped. Lily's lips trembled, soundless at first, but Emma could see the shapes forming. The same jagged words Emma herself had spoken in the church, the syllables that burned open the door. "No!" Emma clamped her hands over her daughter's mouth, eyes wild. "Don't listen to them! Don't say it!" But Lily's small body shook violently in her arms, her throat convulsing as if the words were clawing their way out. Tears streaked her face, her muffled voice whimpering against her mother's palms. The priest's ruined figure loomed closer, each step cracking the earth. His grin stretched wider, hollow sockets locked on Lily. The chorus shook the town now, louder than thunder, louder than the tolling bell. "Speak! Speak! Speak!" Emma's chest heaved, her mind tearing. She couldn't hold Lily's mouth forever. She couldn't fight the town, not like this. But if Lily spoke those words, if the hollow ones claimed her, it would all end. Emma's gaze snapped to the book in her arms. The cover writhed, glowing red-hot, as if it knew the decision before she did. Her hands shook violently. "If I speak instead, I can take it back. I can carry it. I can bind it to me alone." But the whispers coiled around her like chains, hissing through her skull. "You can't choose for her, she already belongs." Emma's sob ripped her throat raw. "You'll have to kill me first!" With a scream, she tore the book open. Pages flared with light, symbols searing the air. The town itself groaned, buildings warping as if bending toward her. The priest shrieked, his jaw unhinging until it cracked. The hollow ones fell to their knees, their chorus breaking into screams. Emma forced the words from her throat, her own voice joining the storm. "Caeltaran vash! Nethra umbriel! Vaith neruan! Cathros!" The book ignited in her hands, flames without heat, searing light pouring into the sky. The ground split, swallowing the street, the diner, the church. Hollow figures dissolved into black mist, their screams fading into silence. Emma clutched Lily tight, pressing her forehead to her daughter's as the world ripped apart. "It's me! Take me, not her!" The light swallowed everything. And then, silence. Emma opened her eyes. She was standing on an empty road. Trees lined either side. The sun hung low, golden. Lily was in her arms, breathing, safe. The book was gone. For the first time, the air was still. "Mom?" Lily whispered. "Is it over?" Emma's lips trembled. She forced herself to smile, kissing her daughter's hair. "Yes, baby. It's over." But far in the woods, pale faces tilted silently, watching. And in the hollow of Emma's chest, the whisper curled again. Until the next road. The road stretched quiet, bathed in the warm glow of late afternoon. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, Emma heard nothing but the rustle of leaves and the distant call of birds. No tolling bells. No hollow chorus. Just the fragile silence of a world untouched. She set Lily down, brushing damp hair from her daughter's face. "It's over," Emma whispered again, though her chest ached with the weight of the lie. Lily looked up at her, wide-eyed but hopeful. "We can go home?" Emma forced a nod. "Yes. We can go home." But as they walked down the sunlit road, Emma's gaze kept flicking to the trees. Every so often, in the corner of her eye, she thought she saw them, faces pale and slack, heads tilted. When she turned, the shadows were empty. She told herself it was just memory, just fear refusing to let go. Yet when the wind shifted, the leaves rustled in a pattern too deliberate, like voices straining to speak. "Emma!" She held Lily's hand tighter, pulling her faster along the road. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky orange and gold. It looked so real, so safe, that Emma almost believed it. Almost. Her chest ached with phantom weight where the book had been. Though it was gone, she felt it still, the pulse, the heat, the whispers. Not outside her anymore, but within. She carried it now, body and soul. She knew what that meant. Dunlow wasn't a place. It wasn't even the hollow ones themselves. It was the hunger. And as long as she lived, that hunger lived too. Emma stopped, staring into the woods one last time. Her voice was low, steady, a promise and a curse all at once. "You'll never have her. Do you hear me? Never." The silence held. The trees swayed. And for a fleeting second, Emma thought she heard laughter, soft, patient, certain. She turned back to the road, scooping Lily into her arms. Together they walked into the fading light, away from Dunlow, away from the hunger. But deep inside, Emma knew the truth. The hollow ones were patient. And sooner or later, every road led home.